Naruto, God rewards hard work. Chapter 121. Very good, I didn't expect you to have some talent in chakra control. Kakashi nodded slightly, and his opinion of Sakura as an ordinary ninja changed a little. Originally, Kakashi thought that Sakura's limit was probably a chunin, but now it seems that she should be able to become a jonin in the future. Really, Kakashi-sensei? Yeah, I can finally start to catch up with Sasuke, so excited. Sakura is very excited at this moment. Just practice on your own until you are a master at it. If you feel you can climb a tree, you can try treading water. It's the same principle. However, because water is in liquid form, it is difficult to successfully step on the water surface. Kakashi explained. Well, thank you very much, Kakashi-sensei. Teacher Kakashi, can I ask you, which direction do you think I should pursue in the future? Sakura asked sincerely. Kakashi saw through Sakura's thoughts at a glance and said, you don't have to follow in the footsteps of Naruto and Sasuke. You have a very good chakra control. You can achieve this for the first time, which shows that you have a good talent in this area. I suggest you develop into a medical ninja. In a team, medical ninjas play a very important role. If they are injured, a medical ninja will be very useful. Kakashi's words made Sakura's eyes light up. It seemed that she had found a way to help Sasuke, so that she would not be a burden. During this period, the tip of the iceberg shown by Naruto and Sasuke made Sakura feel that there was a huge gap between her and the two of them, especially since the two of them usually had their own training plans, and she didn't even know how to plan her training. I will give you a certificate, and you can go to the hospital to find Miss Takahashi Suzuko to learn medical ninjutsu. Kakashi said softly. As for Sakura, since she was assigned to his subordinates, he also hoped that Sakura could achieve greater success. It must be said that with two monsters as opponents, the pressure is still very huge. Sakura also embarked on the path of medical ninja faster than the original. Ellipsis. The next day, Sakura saw Naruto and Sasuke and smiled. She tried treading water last night, which was much harder than climbing a tree, but she managed to do it. Sasuke, Naruto, hello. Sakura greeted the two happily. Well, what is today's mission? Sasuke nodded and said coldly. Teacher Kakashi said that we have mastered the process of accepting missions and let us accept the missions on our own. Sakura explained. That's convenient. Mr. Kakashi is not going to the bookstore again. Naruto said. Sakura was stunned. Naturally, she didn't know what Naruto meant. She just felt puzzled. Sasuke, who was familiar with Naruto and Kakashi, twitched his mouth. He knew that Naruto was just joking. In fact, Naruto also knew that Kakashi should have received some task. Several people began to walk towards the task hall and easily accepted several D-level tasks, which were all very ordinary tasks. In this way, another day passed. Ellipsis. A border of the land of fire, this is the address decided by Shisui and Orochimaru. At this moment, Shisui is wearing a neat combat uniform and an orange mask on his face, which just corresponds to his level in Umbrella. There is only one highest level, and that is Naruto. Naruto is wearing a divine robe, and his handsomeness is fully revealed at this moment. He already has some of the handsomeness of the fourth Hokage, and at the same time has the momentum of a superior. He also wears a mask on his face. Now it is not Konoha, he can move a little. However, this clone is not the real body, but Naruto's special shadow clone. At this moment, they are waiting for Orochimaru to arrive. Soon, Orochimaru appeared in Naruto's perception. Orochimaru is very prepared for time. As soon as Orochimaru appeared, a pair of cold yellow vertical pupils swept over, glanced at Naruto and Shisui, and then said, "You are the top executive of Umbrella, right?" "Yes, Lord Orochimaru," Shisui said, and Shisui's voice made Orochimaru feel familiar. "Orochimaru, since you want to cooperate, let's get straight to the point. I know your abilities very well, and I have what you need here, Lord Orochimaru," have you thought through the 3 questions I asked you? Naruto began to speak, causing Orochimaru to turn his attention to Naruto. Oh, are you the leader of the umbrella organization? Orochimaru licked his lips, with an excited look on his face. Do you know what those questions mean? Orochimaru asked with interest. Naruto looked up at Orochimaru and said, I thought you would find it difficult to understand, or that you couldn't see the essential problem. I didn't expect it would take you several months to understand. It really surprised me. Your Excellency is too kind. I am very interested in the science you are talking about. Orochimaru used the honorific word inadvertently, and it was obvious that what he said was from the heart. If you understand, I can tell you that your imagination is correct. The world is so big, vast and mysterious. There may be a chance in the future to witness it together. Naruto knew that when dealing with someone like Orochimaru, he had to please him. Ha ha ha, I'm really looking forward to what you say. Orochimaru looked very excited, his fingers moving slightly. The sound of the 2 communicating rang out, and their communication was a bit profound for Shisui and Kabuto. Suddenly, Shisui showed a hint of surprise, and then a playful smile appeared on his face. At this moment, Naruto and Orochimaru stopped talking. Naruto walked in front of Orochimaru, and Kabuto noticed something strange. Naruto patted Orochimaru's body, and Orochimaru stepped back as if awakened, looking at Naruto with fear in his eyes. Lord Orochimaru, this is where you were wrong. You actually want to use illusion to test my strength. Naruto said with a smile. Orochimaru did use illusion on him during the communication, but it was obvious that Naruto was controlling him with illusion. You are really too ignorant to play with illusions. Naruto looked at Orochimaru with amusement, then nodded to Shisui, who slowly took off the mask. Orochimaru's cold eyes widened instantly, and a feeling of disbelief rose in his heart. Shisui seemed very satisfied with Orochimaru's expression, and said, Long time no see, Lord Orochimaru. How come you are still alive? Orochimaru took a deep breath and said in disbelief. It was rumored that Shisui was dead, and it was very likely that he died at the hands of Danzo. If he was not dead, he would not have remained indifferent on the night of the genocide. I didn't expect that he was still alive now. Playing illusion in front of the Uchiha family is really a show of skill before an expert. Orochimaru laughed at himself, and then he was filled with endless greed. Ever since he was defeated by Itachi, Orochimaru has been obsessed with the Sharingan. But there are too few Sharingans left in the world, and if it's not his own eyes, he can only end up like Kakashi. Becoming a big blue deficient person. And Orochimaru can naturally avoid side effects by relying on the reincarnation of the corpse. Are you also from the Uchiha family? Orochimaru looked at Naruto with interest. Orochimaru, I'm sorry, I'm not from the Uchiha family. As a future partner, I would like to remind you that although the Sharingan is powerful, it is not as powerful as you think. The same goes for Mangekyo. You think it is powerful, probably because of Uchiha Itachi, but do you know that your resistance to illusions is really not in line with your level? It is because you ignore this point that you think the Sharingan is extremely powerful. Your soul is damaged. Naruto's words pierced through Orochimaru's heart like a sharp sword, setting off a huge wave in Orochimaru's heart. Chapter 122. Orochimaru's eyes were like swords, and his gaze was sharp, but if you looked carefully, you could see a trace of panic in the depths of Orochimaru's eyes. Naruto's words instantly reminded Orochimaru of the past. The immortal transformation technique was the basis for his longevity, and being able to survive was the foundation of longevity. So when he used the curse seal, he injected his own soul fragments into it. But only he knew this, and even Kabuto had never told him that this was a secret deep in his heart. The soul was damaged, the spirit was incomplete, and it became weak, and naturally the resistance to illusions was reduced. Naruto's words at this moment were like a revelation, alerting Orochimaru. In addition, the rejection of the mind and body brought about by the reincarnation of the corpse would make his spirit even more fragile. Orochimaru has not noticed the side effects of the reincarnation of the corpse now, or he has discovered a little, but he does not pay attention to it. The main reason is that the current body is highly compatible with his soul. However, in Naruto's perception, he still discovered the fact that this body is a female body. This body should be the one that Orochimaru showed in the Konoha collapse plan. Unfortunately, the third generation used the god of death to take away one of his hands. Orochimaru couldn't stand the consequence of his arms being unable to move, so he had to reincarnate again. After all, Orochimaru still needs to do experiments. However, the fit of that body can only allow him to last for 3 years. In the end, he wanted to get Sasuke's body, but his spirit was extremely fragile at that time, and he was eventually killed by Sasuke. Oh ho ho ho. It seems that you know me very well. Orochimaru said faintly, and at this moment he had begun to tense up his body. Orochimaru, you don't have to be so nervous. Your goal is immortality, which is the truth of all things in the world. I think we may be the same kind of people. Naruto laughed. Although he and Orochimaru pursued different things, Naruto also yearned for immortality, especially in this world with special powers. With the knowledge of his previous life and the help of God's reward for hard work, Naruto felt that perhaps immortality was not an impossible thing. Immortality might be difficult, but immortality should not be a problem. Naruto's words made Orochimaru feel the mystery of Naruto, especially the existence of Shisui. It was obviously the work of the man in front of him. Shisui's fake death almost fooled everyone. Judging from the actions of the umbrella organization, it is obvious that the purpose is not simple. Since it is a cooperation, what can I get, or what do I need to pay? From all the deeds, it seems that the umbrella organization is not simple, and it is difficult to figure it out for a while, so I just mentioned the purpose of his previous visit. That's great. We may have more cooperation in the future. Naruto glanced at Orochimaru. It's easy to talk to a smart person. I need your knowledge about biology. Similarly, we have the most advanced knowledge in the ninja world. I know, and you should understand, that it is impossible for us to reveal all our trump cards at once for the first time. Of course, if Lord Orochimaru chooses to join us, then some secrets will no longer be secrets. Naruto looked at Orochimaru expectantly. No, I think it's better for us to cooperate. Here's my contact information. Orochimaru summoned a small white snake and spit out a scroll. Naruto didn't feel sorry when he heard Orochimaru refuse. He knew that Orochimaru was not so easily moved. With a slightly disdainful look at the scroll, Naruto took out a mobile phone from his pocket and handed it to Orochimaru. This is our organization's communication tool, you just need to. Naruto briefly introduced the function, which immediately surprised Orochimaru. Looking at the scroll he gave, Orochimaru couldn't help but feel very low. Your organization is really amazing. Orochimaru smiled. The mobile phone given by Naruto was like an upgraded version of radio equipment. Radios have already appeared in the ninja world, but the distance is limited. From here we can see that the technology of the umbrella organization is already at the leading level in the ninja world. After both parties got the contact information, Orochimaru began to turn and leave. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and looked back at Shisui. Shisui-kun, I have a plan. Do you want to participate? Shisui asked with interest. Oh, what plan is it? You will definitely be interested in this. I call it the Konoha collapse plan. Orochimaru showed a grim smile. Although the plan was already perfect, it would be even more foolproof if there was one more cage-level strongman. Although I am very interested, my existence should be a headache for some people in Konoha, but I will send people to help you. Shisui said faintly. Orochimaru's plan was exactly what he wanted, and he was very happy to go to Konoha to cause trouble. It's time to make Konoha pay a little price. Happy cooperation. The two said in unison. Then Orochimaru took Kabuto away directly. After Orochimaru left, Shisui put away his smile and said to Naruto, "Lord Orochimaru is still so wise. He uses my hatred for Konoha to make me come out in the open." Of course, this is Orochimaru after all. If an ordinary person relied on the hatred in his heart, he would probably act impulsively. It's good that you can see it clearly. This is also an opportunity. This time, Sasuke and I will probably leave Konoha. By then, it will be time for Sasuke to meet you guys. Naruto said with a deep look in his eyes, looking at the direction where Orochimaru left. That little guy must have had a very hard time these past few years, with the hatred of his clan being exterminated piled up in his heart. He thought that he and Itachi were the only ones left in the entire Uchiha clan. When talking about Itachi, Shisui paused noticeably. It was very hard, and the training was very hard, but the rewards were amazing. Naruto also knew that Sasuke looked quite normal now. If it weren't for him, he would probably still be immersed in hatred all day long. However, the pressure of genocide has indeed been forcing him to grow. Alas, I entrusted the fate of the Uchiha clan to Itachi, but I never thought he would do this. From Shisui's current perspective, Itachi's behavior was undoubtedly choosing the worst path, and it was his own choice. Even if it was a coup, after advanced preparation, at least a large number of ordinary people of Uchiha could survive. Arranging ordinary people to do business can avoid some of the damage. And Itachi only let Sasuke survive. It is not so easy to revive the Uchiha clan with the power of one person. You know, in the Boruto period, how many of the next generation still know what the Uchiha clan is like? Naruto patted Shisui on the shoulder and said, "Here's the cause, here's the result, in the future Sasuke will get justice. If Sasuke doesn't follow the path arranged by Itachi, imagine the scene." Yes, on the night of the Uchiha clan extermination, not only Uchiha Itachi, but also the top leaders of Konoha will be liquidated. You said, if Sasuke doesn't get married in the future, there will be no Uchiha in the world after 100 years. Will Itachi collapse? Shisui suddenly said, which made Naruto a little funny. Naruto thought of Sakura. If she was not so persistent, maybe it would be like what Shisui said. This is indeed possible, which proves that Itachi's choice was wrong, and this ninja world is also wrong. Naruto said with emotion. Yes. Shisui looked at Naruto. The ninja world is wrong and sick. So isn't he on the road to changing this sick world? For a moment, Naruto's figure in front of him became tall again. Chapter 123. In a place in the ninja world, Jiraiya has seen some new and strange things since he joined the Umbrella organization. Although this place is remote, there are many mechanical creations. The people in the Umbrella organization pay more attention to technology and have been influenced by the Red ideology. They have a strong ability to accept new things. Not only that, Naruto knows that if technology wants to develop comprehensively and make a society flourish, the necessary talent reserves cannot be less. Therefore, the Umbrella organization has begun to popularize education comprehensively. Not only cultural knowledge, but also martial arts and chakra knowledge. According to different talents, some people learn chakra, and some people learn martial arts. With the growth of the Umbrella organization, some small bases began to communicate with each other and communicate regularly. These days, Jiraiya has also opened his eyes, especially the people here are surprised by the development of ninjutsu. Although it is very simple, he did not expect that just a slight change in the form of ninjutsu can help the villagers so much. Take the rice planting technique for example, just the simple use of wind escape can save a person a lot of effort to complete more work. The same is true for earth style, earth turning technique. Even if the amount of chakra is not much, you can still use a few earth turning techniques. Use earth style to turn the surface soil, and the land will be reclaimed. For wheat harvesting, a wind sickle can cut down a large area, and then harvest it easily. Konoha's genin can also do farm work and take on D-level tasks. But it is far less easy than these people. These days, Jiraiya has also seen the combination of ninjutsu and life. Especially Zoro's words, which made him silent. Ninjutsu is not necessarily used for killing, it can also be used for people's livelihood. Strength is a weapon, it depends on how we use it. Why is there so much killing in the ninja world? For profit. But why don't ninjas with powerful strength use this power to create benefits? Because of thinking. Their thinking has formed inertia, thinking that I am a ninja, and missions and assassinations are my meaning. One more thing is that I can protect my companions, but the enemies they kill are also other people's companions. Jiraiya was shocked. The one who can say this must be a wise man. Brother Zoro, you are a man worthy of admiration. A wise man. At this moment, Jiraiya looked at him with new eyes. Although he was an ordinary man, his enlightenment was not that of an ordinary man. Ha ha ha, Jiraiya, you were right. Brother Zoro is indeed very conscious. Last time, an adult asked him to go to the headquarters, but it was a pity that he didn't go. Hayata walked into the room and said in a big voice while sitting on a chair. I know my level, I will be lost in the crowd when I go to the headquarters. I am still far from it. Zoro also said modestly. Headquarters. Have you ever been to the headquarters? Jiraiya suddenly became curious. As for the headquarters, they recruit talents from all over the ninja world. Those who can go there are the elite among the elites. An ordinary person there may have very ordinary talents. I heard this from the man who came here to recruit Zoro last time. He also recruited a scientist from us. Hayata said proudly. What is a scientist? Jiraiya was a little confused. Scientists are people who study scientific things. Jiraiya, you should take a good look at our red ideology. This is essential if you want to become a more glorious member of an organization. However, in order to prevent the organization's secrets from being leaked, we need to be tested after going to the headquarters, so we don't know where the headquarters is. Hayata waved his hand. It's okay, after a while, Jiraiya, you will understand it clearly. During this time, you and Sosuke have become familiar with this place. It's time to take you to participate in the ceremony of joining the organization, so that you can be considered a real member of the umbrella organization. Your level is Indigo level. Only Indigo level can be considered a real member of the organization. The lowest level is not even considered a member of the organization. Zoro explained. Jiraiya also nodded. In the past few days, he also learned a little about the existence of the umbrella organization. First of all, umbrella is all over the ninja world. There are a lot of people. Most of them are ordinary people. In addition, there are many people who can use chakra, and there is also a strange way of training. Although weak, but accumulated. In addition, the levels of umbrella are divided into red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and purple. There is only one green level person in charge in their base. The way of communication between organizations is a magical tool called a mobile phone. It is a bit like radio, but the difference between radio and radio is a world of difference. Boom, boom, boom. Waves of sound came, and Zoro stood up. He knew that this was the beginning of a new ceremony. In his opinion, this was a sacred ceremony. It had a different kind of charm. Let's go, your joining ceremony begins. Zoro said solemnly. Jiraiya followed Zoro out and stood neatly on the playground. The person standing on the platform was the person in charge here. Behind him was a pole more than 20 meters long, and two people behind him were holding a rolled flag with a 7-color umbrella printed on it. The person in charge was called Musashi. It was said that he was a down-and-out samurai before, and later joined the umbrella organization. Newcomers, during this time you should have made up your mind. After joining the organization, your life no longer belongs to you, but to the organization and the leader. Our only goal is to realize the ideals of the organization. It is also our own ideal. We must dedicate every drop of blood to the organization. From now on, you will become a glorious member of the organization. Follow me and swear. I voluntarily become a member of the umbrella organization and dedicate every drop of blood to the organization. Masashi's voice was loud and solemn. At this moment, Jiraiya felt a solemn feeling filling the surroundings. After the oath, Musashi glanced at everyone present, turned around and said loudly, "Raise the flag." Behind him, two people began to raise the flag, and the chess piece with the 7-color umbrella began to rise slowly. A strange feeling rose in Jiraiya's heart. A small seed took root in his heart. This solemn feeling intoxicated everyone and brought everyone closer. At this moment, Jiraiya seemed to be a real member of the umbrella, forgetting his former identity. Afterwards, Jiraiya and Sosuke were also given a copy of Red Thought. At the same time, Jiraiya also got the chakra practice method and the basic practice method of martial arts. It turned out that the strange practice method was called martial arts. Suddenly, there was a lively sound outside the house, and Jiraiya curiously looked out. There was a big iron bird outside on the playground. It was steel-colored, hollowed out, and there were two people inside. Suddenly, a big iron bird flew in the sky again, and Jiraiya widened his eyes. How did such a big iron bird fly into the sky? Chapter 124. Jiraiya looked out the window curiously, and the people outside were also surprised. The voice coming from outside made Jiraiya's heart a little uncontrollable. Jiraiya put down the book in his hand, opened the door and walked out. He came to the side of the crowd and saw Zoro was there. He couldn't help but ask curiously, "Zoro, what's the matter with this big iron bird? How did it fly into the sky?" Zoro was patted on the shoulder. He turned around and saw that it was Jiraiya. "It's you, this is not a big iron bird. It's an airplane, it should be called this name. This was made by those scientists. I don't know the specific principle, but it's very powerful anyway." Jiraiya squeezed into the crowd. Looking at Zoro's expression, he knew that he didn't know much, not as much as he knew himself. At this time, the pilot of the plane also came down. Jiraiya looked at the man, watched him get off the plane, and then looked at the big iron bird made of steel in front of him. No, it's an airplane. That man should be the one who controls the plane. This thing called an airplane is a bit like a puppet, but it can fly. This is very novel. I just don't know if it has the ability to attack. At this time, the pilot began to speak. "Everyone, be quiet. This time we came here mainly to organize the new research and development of this kind of aircraft. People who know about airplanes must be familiar with them. They were made last year, but the previous ones can only be called the first generation, and now it is the second generation. There are even more advanced ones at the headquarters, but that's not something I know about." This time, the organization equipped each stronghold with aircraft for reconnaissance purposes to prevent the organization from being exposed. Another thing is to select a few pilots. Does anyone want to fly a plane like me? Hey, that white-haired guy, you can touch it, but don't knock it, it's my treasure. The pilot's name is Matsuo Ichiro, and the other person who came back this time is called Oyama, and I don't know who gave him the name. Matsuo Ichiro looked at the white-haired young man not far away, and he was knocking here and there with his hands. It's his treasure. Jiraiya looked at everyone looking at him, and smiled awkwardly. I'm just curious, haha. Haha. You can touch it, but don't knock it. What if you break it? Okay, I got it. Jiraiya took a few steps back, and Matsuo Ichiro also breathed a sigh of relief. Jiraiya rolled his eyes and said, I wonder if I can have a chance to experience this thing called an airplane. Matsuo Ichiro rolled his eyes at Jiraiya, always feeling that the young man in front of him was a little wretched, and then said, every young and middle-aged person has a chance. As long as your physical fitness is up to standard, and there is no problem with theory and operation, you can be selected as a pilot, but there are only 5 places. Jiraiya chuckled. He didn't think that he couldn't be selected. With his original physical fitness, the theory should be able to be learned by reading books. These people should be able to teach him. It must be said that in the ninja world, because of the energy of chakra, even if there is no chakra, a person's physical fitness is much better than that of the people in the previous life because of the body cells. Basically, only those who have practiced physical fitness are not bad. And such scenes happened in various places of the umbrella organization. Even Tsunade received one and had an exclusive pilot. The gap between Jiraiya and her was not small. Different status, different conditions of enjoyment. After all, Tsunade's contribution to the organization is still very much. With Naruto's ingenious ideas and Tsunade's powerful ability, the medical subjects have achieved fruitful results. Having witnessed the magic of the airplane, Tsunade was naturally very interested in this kind of thing that could go to the sky. Like Jiraiya, she wanted to go to the sky to try it herself. Tsunade-sama, be careful. Shizune reminded carefully, and Tsunade sat in the co-pilot seat. She didn't know how to fly a plane yet, so she could only follow a professional pilot to experience it once. Don't worry, I'm fine. Tsunade waved her hand excitedly, and then began to take off under the witness of Shizune, gradually disappearing, and Shizune's eyes flashed with envy. She also wanted to go up and experience it. Tsunade flying in the sky had mixed feelings. Full of emotion. There was a feeling that the sky was conquered. And this so-called airplane, it is said that it was developed by a group of ordinary people. And all this is related to science. But soon, Tsunade was immersed in the pleasure of the sky. It was her first time to see the scenery on the ground from the sky, white clouds, blue sky, and green ground. The white clouds passed by like cotton candy. She could even see the tiny people below, like ants. This feeling made her feel very comfortable. It also made her very happy. Turned a few circles after that, they began to prepare for the return flight. After all, it was just for Tsunade's enjoyment. After returning to the ground, Tsunade asked the pilot to teach her how to fly the plane. After all, it was two different feelings to have someone else fly her and to control it by herself. This feeling of not needing chakra was so great. She, Tsunade, must become an ace pilot. Tsunade's physical fitness was up to standard, so Tsunade began to study theory. Although there were many theories to become a pilot, ninjas also had to study theory when they were in the ninja academy. Although Tsunade's theory was not as good as Orochimaru's, it was much better than Jiraiya's, so she made rapid progress, and Jiraiya at this time was doubting his life. He barely recognized any of the theoretical questions on the table. As the last one in the class, how could he be interested in theoretical knowledge? Ellipsis. After a period of training, Tsunade obviously made great progress, and soon had no problem with both theory and practice, and it was only a few days. This also made Tsunade's pilot admire her very much. At this time, Jiraiya was being scolded by Matsuo Ichiro. Jiraiya, if you do this again next time, I will remove you from your position and replace you with someone else. Jiraiya just started the actual operation. Fortunately, he was watching from the side, otherwise the plane would have almost crashed. Jiraiya was also a little embarrassed. This thing looked simple, but his hands just wouldn't obey him. He is now a reserve member and was just stuck at the 5th person. If it weren't for his good physical fitness, he would have been replaced. Seeing Jiraiya admitting his mistake, Ichiro Matsuo's serious face relaxed. Jiraiya was embarrassed in his heart. He was the Toad Sage of Myoboku Mountain, one of the 3 ninjas, but he was scolded. And the scolding was not wrong. At this time, Tsunade could already fly into the sky by herself. This feeling is really great. Tsunade felt that she might have a new hobby. This is more exciting than gambling. Shizune looked at Tsunade with a bit of helplessness on her face. Recently, Lady Tsunade has dropped her work to fly a plane again. These 2 days, she also followed Tsunade to fly into the sky to try it out, but she didn't have the same feeling as Tsunade. Instead, she felt it was a bit dangerous. After all, if she fell, she might die. Chapter 126. Naruto looked at Gaara and said, "The Konoha collapse plan is a plan that Orochimaru and Tsunagakure are planning to launch against Konoha, and the time is set for the Chunin exams in half a year. Orochimaru plans to start with a joint Chunin, and finally take advantage of this incident to take action. Although there are fewer joint Chunin exams, there are still some. During this period, not only can we relax Konoha's vigilance, but we can also take the opportunity to enter Konoha and finally start a battle in Konoha. After all, it is not our territory, so we don't feel bad when we start fighting. Naruto waved his hand. After listening to Naruto's words, Gaara began to think carefully. The feasibility of this plan sounds very high. Later, Luo Sha should tell you the details of Konoha's collapse plan. After all, your fighting power is indispensable. Naruto's words made Gaara stunned. Are you talking about the One Tail? That's right, the fighting power of the tailed beasts is simply a disaster level for ordinary people. When it comes to dealing with ordinary people, the tailed beasts are like a dimensionality reduction attack. Naruto said with a smile. That's right. As the Jinchuriki of the tailed beast, Gaara is naturally aware of how destructive Shukaku is to him, especially now that Shukaku is cooperating with him and providing Gaara with chakra. The damage that can be caused is unimaginable. It just so happens that this time, you can take the opportunity to harvest a wave of reputation, and then we can start the layout of the Kingdom of Wind. Naruto seemed very confident. This time, the plan to collapse Konoha will definitely not be the same as the original. It's time for the ninja world to see the weakness of Konoha. So fast. Gaara was a little surprised. Seeing Gaara's surprised expression, Naruto smiled. Although he knew that Gaara would become the Kazekage of Sunagakure, whether he could win the hearts of the people was still another matter. This time, Naruto let Gaara gain reputation in advance, and he would also mobilize the power of the umbrella to let Gaara get the support of the daimyo of Wind Country. Compared with other big countries, Wind Country is the poorest. If they take care of it, the licentious daimyo of Wind Country will naturally be very happy. No matter who inherits the position of Kazekage, as long as he is obedient enough. The most important reason why Rasa agreed to Orochimaru's plan was that Sunagakure, the development of the village and the development of the Wind Country are not his responsibility, but the Sand Village is now unsustainable, and several requests for development funds have been fruitless. He needs to go panning for gold himself. Luo Sha was able to suppress Shukaku with magnetic escape, thanks to years of training in panning for gold. Luo Sha is not like the powerful Kage such as the Raikage. If the daimyo of the Lightning Country dares not to give the money needed by the Cloud Village, the Raikage will rush to the daimyo of the Lightning Country's bedroom the next day and ask with a clenched fist whether you will give it or not. Therefore, the Lightning Country has enough funds for development, and has also developed a trump card, the Chakra Cannon. But it should not have been built yet. Time is running out for me, Gaara, but you have to believe in yourself. I believe you can do it. Naruto sprinkled a wave of chicken soup. Gaara was obviously very excited. What he cares most about now is the recognition from Naruto. Let me try. Gaara also raised a smile. Naruto, let me talk to Shukaku. In the depths of Naruto's heart, a voice emerged in his mind. 9 llamas. No problem. Naruto used his toes to guess that the nine-tail must be in trouble. After all, the nine-tail and the one-tail are two people, and the two-tailed beasts should not be mortal enemies. After all, the nine-tail always likes to use the number of tails to determine the strength of the tailed beasts. Speaking of which, Naruto doesn't know whether the Six Paths Sage is really partial to the nine-tail. You know, the nine-tail is so arrogant and has capital. The chakra of the nine-tail is almost endless, while Shukaku's chakra is probably only a little more than 1/10 of the nine-tail, but the strength of the one-tail is not the bottom among the tailed beasts, because the one-tail knows ninjutsu, and its own magnetic escape is also very powerful. It's a pity that the one-tail does not understand physics. Otherwise, based on the huge chakra, the strength of the one-tail may also break through the limit of the cage level. In fact, the weakest among the tailed beasts is the three-tail. The amount of chakra of the three-tail is probably only 1/10 of Shukaku, which can be called the least among the tailed beasts. I don't know if the Six Paths sage thinks he is ugly, and the chakra he gives is pitifully small compared to the nine-tail. In the original work, he was also easily captured by Deidara. Gaara, relax, Kurama wants to communicate with Shukaku in your body. Naruto said. Gaara nodded, which made Shukaku and Gaara a little unhappy. What bad idea did this stinky fox have? The two of them bumped fists and connected their spirits together. With the help of Naruto, a consciousness space appeared. The tailed beasts have their own way of communicating, but it is more stable through Naruto. Filthy fox, what do you want to do? In the consciousness space, the figures of several people appeared. Shukaku looked at Kyuubi with an unhappy face and said. Long time no see, Shukaku, I didn't expect you to be so weak. Ahahaha. Kyuubi said condescendingly, with a smug look on his face, wondering if it was because he had been sleepy for too long. Shukaku. Could it be that this stinky fox in front of me is here to make fun of me? You stinky fox, do you want to fight me? Shukaku said with a bad look on his face. You think you can beat me with just your tail? Maybe in the next life. Ha 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 ha. The Nine-Tails feels very happy now. After following Naruto for a long time, the Nine-Tails has naturally learned a lot, such as pretending to be cool. This is a phrase Naruto often uses on Sasuke. Damn stinky fox, strength is not determined by the tail. Although it has to be admitted that the nine-tailed beast is the strongest among the tailed beasts, Shukaku felt disgusted when he saw the nine-tailed beast's disgusting face. Are you here to fight me? Shukaku said with a gloomy face. Of course not. After hearing what Kyuubi said, Shukaku instantly relaxed, but the next moment, Shukaku was filled with anger. I'm here to show off. Oh, look at the environment you live in, and then look at me. Kyuubi was very proud, and then he showed his living environment directly: blue sky, white clouds, and green grass. Although there is still a cage, this cage is much bigger. Naruto was a little stunned. Why does it feel that the current Kyuubi is a little naughty? If Shukaku is so provoked, won't they fight? Maybe fighting will be more in line with Kyuubi's wishes. The stinky fox is not trying to provoke me, and then beat me up. Shukaku thought in his heart, and he felt more and more that he was right. The Nine-Tails had learned bad things from that brat named Uzumaki Naruto. If it were in the past, it would not be like this now. But what he didn't know was that the Nine-Tails had not come out for a long time, and coupled with his relationship with Naruto, his nature had been liberated a lot. If it were in the past, he would have beaten Shukaku directly, but now, he prefers to see Shukaku's angry look. Chapter 127. Shukaku looked like he had seen through everything. I won't be fooled, you stinky fox, just give up. Nine-Tails. Naruto. I love Luo. What did Shukaku understand? The two men and the beast looked at Shukaku's smug expression and were a little confused. At the same time, on Kakashi's side, Sakura had already started vomiting, blood splattered on her face, and her hand holding the kunai was shaking. Just now, she personally ended a person's life. Kakashi walked to Sakura's side and comforted her. We are ninjas. When we set foot on this path, weren't we already prepared? Although it was normal for Sakura to be like this, it still made him a little disappointed. Kakashi didn't say anything else. After all, Sakura was just a little girl. When he first killed someone, he was also a little uncomfortable, but he quickly overcame it. After all, they were ninjas trained in peacetime, and they were more likely to accept killing than in wartime. Hearing Kakashi's words, Sakura's trembling heart calmed down. Yes. When you choose to become a ninja, you have already made up your mind. Ninja is not a child's play. Sakura looked at Naruto and Sasuke in the distance. The two did not feel any discomfort. Sakura didn't know that the two had already undergone relevant training. Sakura also saw Naruto smiling and talking to Sasuke at this moment. Sasuke also did not change at all. Is this a genius? At this moment, Xiaoying realized that the gap between her and the other two was too big. I'm sorry, Mr. Kakashi. I will try my best to overcome it. Sakura stood up and shouted loudly. Kakashi nodded and said, well, let's clean up the scene. At the moment of turning around, Kakashi smiled. Naruto and Sasuke in the distance also saw this scene. Naruto smiled slightly. Sakura did not seem to be useless. At least this courage was worthy of praise. Naruto did not look down on Sakura. The few grudges he had long since disappeared. After all, this was a real world. He did not like what Sakura did to Naruto in the original work. The little opinions he had disappeared with time. But he did not have a high liking for her. In his original opinion, Sakura was just a girl who only knew how to shout Naruto, and she did not actually pay much. From the perspective of the side, Sakura was indeed like this. Only by personally integrating into this world can one have a different perception. Sakura's talent is not as good as Naruto and Sasuke. She is just an ordinary ninja. It is too difficult to change some things. As for this life, whether Sakura can still get together with Sasuke depends on how much Sakura can do. A base near the Kingdom of Wind. This is exactly the base of a protective umbrella. In the desert, Scorpion walked slowly in the desert. These days, he always saw flying objects similar to birds in the sky. He thought it was just a new species he had never seen before, but after observing it for a few days, he thought it was not. Instead, it was something like a puppet. He did not feel the existence of life. After a few days, Scorpion originally planned to leave the desert in a few days. After all, he came to the desert just for a little thing. But his inner curiosity made him stay for a few days. After a few days of observation, the thing that looked very much like a bird in the sky would pass by this area every morning and evening, but due to the flying altitude, Scorpion could do nothing. Suddenly, Scorpion frowned. A sandstorm slowly came in the distance. It was normal to have sandstorms in the desert, but the sandstorm in front of him obviously disturbed Scorpion's interest, and this sandstorm was not ordinary. Scorpion looked at the sandstorm that was about to come to his eyes. This sandstorm was a bit unusual, but fortunately it did not go in the direction of the oasis. Scorpion looked at the flying object that appeared again in the sky with disappointment and wanted to turn around and leave. He also saw that strange thing and was about to leave. But suddenly he noticed that the strange thing in the distance seemed to be a little wrong, as if it was a little shaky. Scorpion hurriedly chased in the direction of the plane. In the sky, the pilots of the umbrella were flying, and their faces were no longer as calm as usual. The tank is empty. Impossible, we checked it when we came out. One of them looked a little pale. Just now, when we were flying at low altitude, do you remember the sandstorm? I suspect that the sandstorm rolled small rocks into the sky and accidentally smashed through the fuel tank. You should be thankful that there was no direct explosion. The man analyzed, with a bit of helplessness on his face. He did feel a turbulence before, and thought it was due to the wind and waves caused by the storm. Unexpectedly. Jump out of the plane. There is no other way. Now they have to abandon this plane. Soon, the two began emergency parachuting. Without the control of the two, the plane completely lost control and fell crookedly towards the distance. The two fell in another direction. Scorpion used the instant body technique to hurry on. Just when the plane was about to fall, Scorpion used Earth Escape to intercept the plane. At this time, the plane had been damaged in many places. At this time, Scorpion noticed how big this strange thing was, and it was very strange. It was made of steel and its shape was a bit like a bird. Although he couldn't figure it out, Scorpion had a hunch that this thing would help him a lot. Soon, Scorpion took it back to his temporary base. As a puppeteer, Scorpion usually has to study puppets, so naturally he has his own base. In the room, there were some puppet materials. Wood and steel were scattered on the table, and some puppet limbs were placed on the table. Taking out the plane from the scroll, Scorpion looked at it carefully. The steel-like creation seemed to be a replica. It was made of a bird, but it was so big and so heavy that it could fly into the sky. Scorpion was very interested in this. Scorpion looked at the plane in front of him. There was a propeller on the head and a transparent cover on it. There should be 2 people inside. There should be an accident. After a careful inspection, Scorpion finally found out the problem. It turned out that the fuel tank was exposed. Although Scorpion didn't know what a fuel tank was, he still distinguished that the damaged position was obviously very important, and there was a strong smell. As a puppet master, Scorpion has been exposed to everything in these years, and Scorpion still understands some mechanical principles. Just like Orochimaru, a biological man, finally made a mechanical Naruto. Scorpion is also quite proficient in mechanical principles. There is no doubt that this strange big iron bird in front of him is a mechanical creation. Scorpion is very curious about how he flew into the sky. If he can understand the principle and let his puppet fly, then his combat power will be greatly increased. A puppet master. The most important thing is his puppet. Chapter 128. After a few days of research, Scorpion felt that he seemed to have fallen into a misunderstanding. Eyes, which can fly, seemed not to be that simple. Although he had understood most of the principles, the slightest mistake could lead to a huge error. The slightest difference was fatal. Before he completely understood it, he could not restore it completely, let alone transform it into a puppet. This thing is really exquisite. Although it is made of steel, the puppet is mostly made of wood. Although there are iron materials in it, and even chakra metal, for the convenience of operation, they are all precious wooden materials. The production of a puppet basically requires 100,000 materials. Basically, it is difficult for poor people to become puppeteers. And puppeteers need to learn a lot of things. Most puppeteers need to know a little knowledge of sealing techniques. The top puppets are a combination of sealing techniques and puppetry. Just like Chio's puppet, Chio has the ability to control 10 puppets to fight at the same time, and they are all top-notch. With Chio's experience, even facing a shadow-level strongman, he cannot lose the upper hand. Chio's puppet is called the Chikamatsu 10 People. It is the masterpiece of Bunziman, the ancestor of the Sand Village puppeteer. Chio only relies on Chikamatsu. The 10 People can rival Scorpion's 100 machine operation, and the Chikamatsu 10 People also have the title of one machine worth 1,000. It is engraved with runes of sealing techniques, and its combat power is very strong. Scorpion finally gave up. He felt that since those people could research such exquisite things, there might be more surprises. He had a hunch that the fusion of this mechanical creation and puppetry would bring puppetry to another level. He might surpass the limits of the puppeteer and become an existence comparable to the ancestor. And this thing doesn't have chakra threads, but the disadvantage is that it requires human control. Are there any puppets that don't require human control, or methods that can be controlled without chakra threads? In the next few days, Scorpion began to wander aimlessly in the desert, hoping to see the person driving that strange thing again. But in the next few days, those people seemed to have disappeared. However, Scorpion was not disappointed. He did not find anyone, so he continued to study the technology on the plane. At the same time, in order to study these technologies clearly, Scorpion also bought a large number of books on mechanical principles. Although the mechanical principles on the market are all relatively basic knowledge, Scorpion has learned some in the past, but he has not studied them systematically. He only needs the principles. With Scorpion's current level, he will quickly master the knowledge. As time goes by, Scorpion has a better understanding of airplanes. The plane needs a kind of energy to take off. Scorpion suspects that it is the kind of flammable liquid that occasionally appears on the surface of the desert. But it is a little different, but this is not a problem for him. It is the same energy. Using chakra can also be replaced. And chakra has the advantages of chakra, but it consumes chakra a bit. People with less chakra may find it difficult to support consumption. After a period of time, Scorpion's research has made certain progress, and he has also developed his own flying puppet. Unfortunately, the flying puppet still cannot be separated from the control of chakra threads, which makes this flying creation only able to fly at low altitudes. Inspired by the airplane, in order to give him attack power, Scorpion created a bird-like puppet with wings and a built-in chakra device, which is the main reason for his ability to fly. The wings are auxiliary, making it more flexible and maintain speed, and it can glide after the chakra is exhausted. It has to be said that Scorpion's talent in puppetry is really good, sometimes just lacking imagination. In the entire Naruto world, Scorpion can also be called the top puppeteer. And Scorpion's actual age is not big. In this world, geniuses are always incomprehensible. In the original work, he was only 35 years old when he died. He had the title of Scorpion of the Red Sand and his code name in the Akatsuki organization was Jade. He also transformed himself into a human puppet, and transformed himself into a life core, which can be used as long as a puppet is replaced. It's a pity that the original work does not introduce how long Scorpion can live with the life core. To be precise, Scorpion is no longer a real human. After all, the life core is him, and he is just a life core. The puppet is just a puppet after all. Scorpion is a genius with a wide range of knowledge, just like Orochimaru, but the two have different focuses. Scorpion looked at the new puppet he made in front of him, and was a little dissatisfied. He always felt that he only had the form but not the body. This puppet should abandon the limitations of traditional puppets and be able to fight remotely without relying on the control of chakra threads. So Scorpion is not very satisfied. In addition to using chakra threads for control, he also uses his life core for control. Scorpion usually hides in a puppet, but it is very realistic. It is a puppet named Fei Liuhu. Even in the Akatsuki organization, many people think that Fei Liuhu is Scorpion's body. Even if it is not the body, basically few people have seen Scorpion's body. But who would have thought that the body of Scorpion hidden in the body of the Red Flow Amber was not his real body? Scorpion emerged from the Red Flow Amber, and his body appeared in a handsome appearance. I am afraid that even the Akatsuki organization would not have thought that the young and handsome boy in front of him was Scorpion. A core popped out and was then sent to the body of the new puppet by the chakra thread. Scorpion named the puppet in front of him Hugh. With the entry of the life core, Hugh seemed to come alive, and even his eyes looked very smart. Scorpion tried to fly into the sky. On the first attempt, Scorpion soared directly into the sky. It seemed that he did not control the strength well. Scorpion controlled this body to try to fly into the sky. At the same time, feeling the feedback of this body, he opened his wings. The wings looked very sharp and could be unfolded or folded. The real flight does not rely on wings, but on the chakra device in Hugh's body. This is what Scorpion created based on the aircraft engine. In order to pursue lethality, Scorpion even extracted poison on the wings. Puppet master is also a profession that plays poison to a high level. Poison can help puppets cause greater lethality. In the Third World War, Sand Village's poison caused great trouble to Konoha. If it weren't for Tsunade, Konoha would have paid a heavier price. Scorpion controlled Hugh to start moving. After a simple adaptation, Scorpion swooped down and ejected countless steel needles from his mouth. The steel needles emitted a faint light, which was obviously poisoned. The wings behind him spread out. Boom, boom, boom. Easily cut the trees in front of him. The big trees fell one by one, raising a large amount of dust. Scorpion looked at the scene in front of him and felt a little satisfied, but he still carefully summarized the advantages and disadvantages of this puppet. Chapter 129. There is a sound of breaking through the air when flying, which makes it difficult for the steel needle in the mouth to sneak attack people, and the attack method is single, but the ability to save life is pretty good. There is still room for improvement. Scorpion put away the puppet, returned to the main body, returned to the base, and continued to study. When he was free, he went out to look for the traces of Umbrella and others. In the Kingdom of Wind, Naruto said goodbye to Gaara and told him some words before he started to return. After Gaara returned, he finally received information from Rasa and learned about Konoha's collapse plan. In the meeting room of Sand Village, Rasa looked at everyone present with a serious expression. Lord Cage, would it be unfavorable to cooperate with Orochimaru? After all, Orochimaru was once a Konoha man. If this is a trap, we may be doomed. The speaker was a middle-aged sand ninja who looked very steady. As soon as he spoke, the rest of the people discussed in a low voice. After all, that person was right. Orochimaru was from Konoha after all, and was once a disciple of the third Hokage. Even if he has become a rebel ninja now, he cannot be careless. There are about 6 or 7 people in this meeting room. Chiyo and the elder of Sand Village, Ebizo, are not here. The two have retired and basically no longer care about the affairs of Sand Village. I won't joke about this matter. Orochimaru is still trustworthy, but we can't trust him completely. But I don't want to miss this opportunity. As long as we defeat Konoha, we will no longer be the last among the 5 major countries. Before, there was a Kurigakure village behind us, but in recent years, Kurigakure village has grown rapidly with the help of the 7-colored Chamber of Commerce. If we don't take action, the future of our sand village will be worrying. I can be sure that Orochimaru is definitely not sent by Konoha. Luo Sha said solemnly. Orochimaru can perform the impure world reincarnation technique, which also means that Orochimaru dug the graves of the first and second Hokage. So Orochimaru must not be a spy of Konoha. Orochimaru has been a traitor for some years, so Orochimaru's purpose should be true. Luo Sha also knows that Orochimaru wants to use the power of their sand village. After all, with Orochimaru, it is difficult to severely damage Konoha even with the impure world reincarnation. In general, the two sides have a mutually beneficial relationship. Under Luo Sha's arbitrary rule, this matter was finalized. What's more, the situation of their sand village is really worrying. Even the economy of the village needs a village's shadow to dig gold in exchange for funds for development. Sand Village has been weak for a long time, and it is time to show its fangs to the ninja world. The news was quickly passed to some middle and high-level ninjas. It was not the time for the bottom-level ninjas to know. Even Chiyo and Ebizo, who had retired long ago, knew this news. Luo Sha was really impulsive. Is Orochimaru so easy to deal with? This is tantamount to seeking the skin of a tiger. Chiyo replied coldly. We have retired, so we don't need to worry about this matter. Let's leave it to Luasha. Besides, we need to change in Sand Village. There haven't been any talented ninjas in the village recently. It's not like Konoha, which is really a cradle of geniuses. Ebizo said with emotion, dropping the intelligence in his hand. Although Konoha has been a bit of a successor in the past 2 years, Konoha basically has some talented ninjas every few years. If Konoha wasn't so capable, I'm afraid the ninja world would still pay unusual attention to Konoha. The legacy left by the first and second generations of Hokage tilde. Ebizo felt a little emotional. I really hope Sarutobi Hiruzen can continue to be the Hokage. During the second generation, Konoha could win when it was 1 against 4. Now in the third generation, the Senju is not revealed, the Uchiha clan is exterminated, the 3 ninjas leave, the 4th generation dies, and Konoha White Fang commits suicide. Uchiha's genius ninja Uchiha Shisui dies, and it is said that he has opened the same eyes as Uchiha Madara, the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Itachi, who also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, destroyed the Uchiha clan with his own hands. Konoha is like a place where geniuses are produced, and geniuses emerge endlessly. However, even though Konoha has declined a lot, Konoha's foundation should not be underestimated. There are many ninja clans, and there is also the Hyuga clan. Even if the comprehensive combat power is not counted as the strongest of the 5 hidden villages, it can be ranked in the middle. Ebizo knows that their sand village is probably now the overall strength has fallen to the lowest level. Even the hidden mist village, known as the blood mist village, has grown stronger under the leadership of the 5th Mizukage Maiterumi. Although Ebizo has retired, he was once in charge of the Sunagakure Intelligence Force, so he is still very concerned about what is happening in the ninja world, and he has left spies in various major countries. The ninja world has become increasingly turbulent in recent years, and he has also discovered something, so he did not blame Rasa too much for his behavior. Although the spread of the umbrella has attracted the attention of some people, it still did not attract the attention of the ninjas. After all, they are just ordinary people. When the umbrella did not show its true power, they were just like the Akatsuki organization, all in the dark. Who would have known that now? The Akatsuki organization is so powerful, all of them are cage-level warriors. Similarly, Umbrella's current potential is not weak either. It just needs time to grow. What makes Ebizo happy is that a candidate who can inherit the Sand Village has appeared in their Sand Village, and that is Gaara. The current Gaara really makes Ebizo very satisfied. His personality has changed, and his prestige in the Wind Country is very high. The hatred he once had has almost disappeared, and even Shukaku seems to have been conquered by Gaara. He has the bloodline limit of magnetic release, and he is only 12 years old now. With Shukaku's strength, he has surpassed the level of Cage. It's really God's favor for Sand Village. Gaara, relying on his own strength, guided the development of magnetic release in another direction, which can not only he can use magnetic escape to fly, and can also use magneto-electricity to create terrifying lightning escape ninjutsu. There are few people in the ninja world who can match Gaara's talent. Even Kakashi Hatake, who was once known as a super genius in Konoha, was only a 12-year-old jonin, and Gaara was a 12-year-old cage-level strongman. It's really terrifying, although there is the reason of Shukaku. But even without Shukaku, Gaara's strength can reach the level of an elite jonin, so how can Ebizo not be happy? Gaara is the future of Sunagakur. But how could he have imagined that Gaara could be where he is today entirely because of Naruto's existence? Ebizo's expectations will eventually make wedding dresses for Naruto, or for the future of this ninja world. Chapter 130. Gaara, take a look at this plan. You guys take a look too. After returning home, Rasa told Gaara about the Konoha collapse plan. Looking at the document on the table, Gaara slowly opened it and read it carefully. Then Gaara handed the document to Temari and Kankuro. After the two took it, they read it. After a while, they looked at the document and their faces showed surprise and confusion. But aren't we allies with Konoha? Temari asked puzzled, and Kankuro was also puzzled. Is this really okay? Kankuro muttered. Humph. What do you know? The so-called alliance is just a piece of paper. In the face of interests, the alliance is fragile. As long as Sand Village can succeed this time, our people will be able to live a better life. Our Sand Village will also be better. Luo Sha said with a serious face. This time, you will act as genin and participate in Konoha's Chunin exam. Luo Sha's expression eased a little, and he said to Temari and Kankuro. As for Gaara, although Gaara is very powerful, but he is indeed a genin. Temari and Kankuro have become Chunins. Ah. Are we going to take part in the Chunin exam? Temari and Kankuro were a little confused. They didn't expect that they would have to take part in the Chunin exam now. Although this exam is aimed at Konoha, we can't let down the reputation of our Sand Village. Luo Sha also knew that if they sent their Sand Village's genin to Konoha to take the exam now, they would probably be eliminated soon. After all, Gaara is the only outstanding genin in their Sand Village now, and they must enter the finals to attract some attention. It will also facilitate the implementation of their plan. Luo Sha looked into the distance outside the window. Konoha is really a place with outstanding people and beautiful scenery, but as long as they can tear a piece of meat from Konoha, Sand Village will be able to have better development. On Orochimaru's side, they have begun to prepare for the attack on Konoha. The Sound Village has already made preparations, and now it is almost 2 months away from the graduation of Naruto, Sasuke and others. At the same time, he has told Konoha about the idea of a joint Chunin exam. Not surprisingly, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen has agreed. The joint Chunin exam is an opportunity to prove to the outside world that Konoha has been weak for a long time, and the third Hokage also needs to flex his muscles to prove that they have a successor for the next generation of Konoha. And now, the heirs of several major families in Konoha village have graduated one after another. This time, the Sand Village's joint efforts are in line with the third Hokage's ideas. As the saying goes, when sleepiness comes, pillows will come. The third Hokage naturally has no reason to refuse. At the same time, this news also spread to the ninja world. At this moment, the tables of the other major hidden villages all appeared with the things that the Kazekage and the Hokage said. Joint Chunin exam. Not interested. The Raikage slapped the table with his hand, his temper was extremely hot. The secretary beside him frowned, because there were several more cracks on the table in front of him. The Land of Earth, the Hidden Rock Village, the third Tsuchikage, Otaki, looked at the documents and seemed a little bored. What exactly are the plans of Sunagaku and Konoha? Is it really just an ordinary Chunin exam? Forget it, we won't participate. There are no good genin seedlings recently. It will be embarrassing to go, said Dainoki immediately. After all, Konoha and Sunagaku only invited this exam. It was entirely voluntary to go or not. Konoha and Sunagaku not only invited big countries, but also invited ninja villages from some small countries to participate in the Chunin exam. Big countries can refuse. If those small countries refuse, it means they are not giving face to big countries. So basically they sent people to participate in this Chunin exam, and at the same time, they also took their own ninjas out to see the world and let them see what kind of ninjas trained by big ninja villages are like. Otherwise, they will stay in the village all day, thinking that they are geniuses. The resources of small ninja villages are really too scarce, with a small population and a small number of ninjas. There is not even a systematic ninja training method. Basically, most ninja villages do not have ninja schools. Orochimaru looked at the information in his hand and the reference feedback on it. He showed a meaningful smile. The layout has been basically completed, so the last link is missing. Then he said no more and turned back to continue the experiment. Ellipsis. Naruto also received a message from Orochimaru, asking Naruto to cooperate with his actions. Since Orochimaru said so, let's send some people to the Chunin exam. What do you think, Shisui? Naruto smiled and looked at the people around him. They still had some time to complete their mission, so Naruto came to the Umbrella headquarters. When Shisui heard Naruto asking him, he put the teacup on the table and said, "Aren't there a few good martial arts talents recently? It would be a good idea to let them stay in the Sound Village to train." Ha ha ha, that's what I meant. Let them have a collision with the ninjutsu. After all, the current genin doesn't have any ninjutsu that's too scary. With their strength, they probably won't be in too much danger. Naruto said softly. Time flows slowly and orderly. And Konoha doesn't know yet that a storm is about to cover the entire Konoha. Naruto finished his mission and returned to Konoha. 3 months passed quickly. Because the Land of Waves has changed, the plot of the Land of Waves has also disappeared. There's still 1 month left before the Chunin exam. Naruto unexpectedly received a message from Orochimaru, which was to hunt down the 4th Kazekage Rasa. Naruto also recalled that it seemed that Rasa was killed by Orochimaru before the Chunin exam. Who would have thought that he was invited? Thinking of this, Naruto couldn't help but get excited. As long as Rasa dies, Gaara will definitely be the 5th Kazekage. At that time, he can slowly erode the Sand Village, and then plan to take over the Kingdom of Wind. Although the environment of the Kingdom of Wind is harsh, it still has many resources, such as the oil resources that Naruto needs. Naruto can completely build the Kingdom of Wind into an industrial base. At the same time, because of Gaara's cover, Naruto can develop better. In a few years, the Umbrella organization will erupt with terrifying power. Naruto passed the message to Shisui and asked him to agree, but Naruto did not plan to do it himself and let Shisui play freely. It has to be said that Naruto is now more and more satisfied with Shisui. The development of the umbrella organization is in order, and Shisui is more relaxed in management. Shisui received Naruto's message and responded directly to Orochimaru using his mobile phone. Mr. Orochimaru, we have agreed. I will arrange people to help you with the details. Quote. Then I look forward to Shisui-kun's help. The two hung up the phone. Shisui had already made up his mind about the candidate. Zabuza had recently broken through to the level of Cage, so it would be good for him to fight with a Cage-level strongman. At the same time, he also wanted to let Orochimaru see the strength of their organization. Chapter 131. Shisui called Zabuza over immediately. Zabuza, I leave this matter to you. Shisui said solemnly. Zabuza grinned. I didn't expect that I would participate in the hunting of a shadow just after entering the level of shadow. I, Zabuza, have assassinated 2 Cages in my life, which is considered a great success. Zabuza did not refuse. On the contrary, he was very excited. He had just broken through, and he was looking for someone to test his strength. In addition, with Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas, Zabuza would dare to fight even the Wind Cage of the Wind Country. At worst, he could escape, right? He also learned Naruto's wind control technique. After all, such a skill is still very powerful for saving lives. You, be careful not to capsize, every shadow should be taken seriously. Shisui sat in the office and looked at Zabuza and joked. How could that be? I'm not stupid. Would you like some wine? Come. Facing Shisui's request, Zabuza sat down without hesitation. Shisui took out a few bottles of wine from the drawer, and the two of them drank in the office as if no one was around. After pouring a glass of wine and handing it to Zabuza, Shisui said, Orochimaru is not an easy person to deal with. You must be vigilant when you go there. Zabuza picked up the glass and drank it all, then put it down and responded, Of course, Orochimaru, I dare not underestimate the 3 ninjas of Konoha. Orochimaru has been famous for a long time. He was once a disciple of the 3rd Hokage, and he escaped from Konoha, and he has not been caught by the people of Konoha for so many years. Now he has even established a ninja village in the land of rice, and he is also a guy who studies various forbidden techniques. How could Zabuza look down on him? The dusk was getting darker. In the dark night, only the lights in the 2 people's room were still dimly lit. In the early morning of the rising sun, Zabuza started to go to meet Orochimaru. After half a day, Zabuza successfully met Orochimaru. This man looked like a cold poisonous snake. But he looked a little young. Zabuza also knew that Orochimaru was studying some strange techniques. He also learned some information about Orochimaru from Naruto, and knew that Orochimaru longed for immortality. Orochimaru also looked at Zabuza. Orochimaru obviously knew about Zabuza. I didn't expect that Umbrella would send you to help me, but are you really strong enough? A powerful aura suddenly enveloped Zabuza. Zabuza, the rebel ninja of Kurigakure, although powerful, is just a junior in the eyes of Orochimaru. A strange color flashed in Zabuza's eyes. He knew that he was underestimated. He said coldly, Then Orochimaru, you come and try. An aura of being a cage emanated from Zabuza's body, counteracting the aura from Orochimaru. Feeling Zabuza's powerful aura, Orochimaru was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Zabuza to be a cage-level powerhouse. It seems that although he has just entered, even if he has just entered, he is also a cage level, not a cage level. I'm sorry, your organization is really full of talented people. Orochimaru instantly retracted his aura, as if the person who was murderous just now was not him. Zabuza also glanced at Orochimaru and the people around him, and when he saw Kimimaro, his pupils shrank. Seeing Zabuza's reaction, Orochimaru immediately introduced, This is Kabuto, my assistant. This is Kagaya Kunmaro, who was once a member of your Kurigakure. Oh no, I almost forgot, you are not a member of Kurigakure anymore. Orochimaru said softly, with a cold tone in his voice. I didn't expect that someone from the famous Kagaya clan survived. If I'm not mistaken, he should be the last orphan of the Kagaya clan. Zabuza said in a complicated tone. Kimimaro was also a victim of the blood mist. I didn't expect that someone from the Kagaya clan survived. A trace of fear flashed in Zabuza's eyes. The Kagaya clan are all a group of lunatics, famous for their bellicosity. And they have corpse veins that can control bones. They have extremely powerful attack and defense power. If they were not a group of reckless men, the Kagaya clan would not have ended up like this. There is only one person left in a family. Kurigakure was the ninja village with the most bloodline limits, but now, how many bloodline limit families have disappeared in Kurigakure? It was because of the darkness of Kurigakure that Zabuza became a rebel ninja and met Naruto. And now, he is working hard to change this ninja world. Zabuza inadvertently raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Zabuza-kun, I have contacted Rasa, and the location is set in the Land of Wind, let's go. Without further ado, Orochimaru went straight to the point. Zabuza also nodded. One Orochimaru, plus him, there is a guy from the Kagaya clan, and this guy named Kabuto. If Rasa is not prepared, he will probably be caught dead. Several people rushed to the Land of Wind without stopping. After resting for a night, several people also met Rasa. Rasa did not bring many people with him at this moment, only one guard. After all, the fewer people who know about the matter of dealing with Konoha, the better. Orochimaru, to cut a long story short, what else do you have in mind? Luo Sha said impatiently. He had to go back to Pan for gold, and his time was very precious. Orochimaru signaled Kimimaro with his eyes, and Zabuza disguised himself as Orochimaru's guard. I think the plan can be changed again. Orochimaru's cold voice sounded. Luo Sha frowned, not knowing what he was thinking. What do you want to change? I think I can take your place in Konoha's collapse plan. Orochimaru said faintly. What do you mean? Luo Sha frowned again. Shadow Snake Hand. Orochimaru suddenly made a move, and the venomous snake that suddenly appeared bit the neck of Luosha's guard. The man who was bitten looked painful, and it was obvious that the venomous snake was very poisonous. Kimimaro instantly appeared beside the man, and a bone spur pierced his body. Blood flowed out of the wound, and his eyes were wide open, obviously unwilling. The sudden change made Luosha furious. He pulled back directly, controlled the sand and instantly crushed several venomous snakes to death. Orochimaru, what do you mean? Are you kidding me? Luo Sha looked at the scene in front of him, and the anger in his heart was almost uncontrollable. I will kill you, then pretend to be you, and then I will do it. Isn't the success rate very high? Ha ha ha, do it. Orochimaru rarely explained and immediately asked several people to start the action. 10 fingers pierce bullets. Kimimaro threw out bones one by one. The speed and lethality were more amazing than kunai, but it seemed a little bit inferior in front of Luosha. Luosha directly used sand to block Kimimaro's attack. Luosha was instantly filled with anger. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and the rolling yellow sand exploded like an explosion. Several people retreated quickly and surrounded Luosha tightly. Orochimaru, you are so brave. Gold Dust Funeral. Without any hesitation, Luo Sha directly activated his ultimate move. He knew that he had to attack with the force of thunder, otherwise it would be dangerous. Although he was in a rage, it didn't mean that he had no brains. Chapter 132. The gold dust rolled up by Luo Sha came over like an overwhelming force, and Zabuza's eyes were fixed. If it was before, he would have retreated, but now. It seems that he has to retreat. The ninja with bloodline limit is much more powerful than the average ninja, especially now that Luo Sha often pans for gold dust, and is undoubtedly very skilled in the use of magnetic escaping bloodline limit, so even Orochimaru has to take it seriously. Even though Zabuza has reached the threshold of the cage level at this time, he is very alert when facing Luo Sha at this time. Zabuza looked up, and the gold dust was surging like a river, which was terrifying. With a direct body-flicking technique, Zabuza retreated directly, and at the same time pulled out the beheading sword behind him. His eyes were full of murderous intent, and he was obviously in the state. Orochimaru on the other side was not surprised either. He had already mastered Luo Sha's abilities and intelligence, and gave Kimimaro and Kabuto a look. Then the whole person moved directly. Luo Sha's ultimate move obviously has a wide range of attack. Rashomon. Orochimaru quickly formed a seal, and a huge gate stood in front of him in an instant. Rashomon is a very strong defensive technique, and it is also a spiritual technique. In the original work, Orochimaru had a record of defending the tailed beast ball. Even the powerful gold sand was intercepted by Orochimaru at this moment. The gold sand did not break through the defense of Rashomon and scattered from both sides. Rasa did not think that one ninjutsu could get rid of several people. At this moment, Kimimaro had already rushed out, and his eyes did not fluctuate at all. A chakra scalpel appeared in Kabuto's hand, and he also rushed out with Kimimaro. Orochimaru did not move, and quickly formed a seal in his hand. Earth Escape Technique. Earth Dragon Bullet Technique. A huge earth dragon rose up. Thanks to the desert environment, the power of Earth Escape Technique was quite good, but the Kingdom of Wind was Luasha's home turf. Gold Dust Cube. A huge gold nugget smashed the earth dragon condensed by Orochimaru into pieces. The weight and density of the gold dust directly crushed the earth dragon bomb, and the chakra on it should not be underestimated. Orochimaru smiled. Kimimaro and Kabuto had already come to Luasha's side. Bones appeared on Kimimaro's body, making Luasha's eyes begin to become solemn. The Kagaya clan. Luo Sha muttered. The Kagaya clan was famous for its bellicosity and strong defense and attack power. Luo Sha moved around, and felt a thorn in his back. Luo Sha kicked Kimimaro away, turned around and kicked Kabuto, who quickly rolled to the side. Several huge javelins made of gold dust appeared in front of Luo Sha and were thrown directly at Kabuto. Zabuza's beheading sword suddenly appeared and directly picked up several javelins made of gold dust and flew out. Just surrender, Luo Sha. You can't escape today no matter what. Zabuza said arrogantly while carrying a beheading sword. In the past, he was alone against several people, but now it feels great that several people are bullying one person, and it's the shadow of a village. Luasha did not answer Zabuza's words, but looked at Orochimaru in the distance, his eyes full of murderous intent. Orochimaru, are you really going to do this? Luo Sha gritted his teeth, filled with resentment. If he could go back this time, he would definitely mobilize the sand ninjas to cut Orochimaru into pieces. Luo Sha, it's already like this, you're not a child anymore, just surrender. Orochimaru smiled, but his hands were busy. Spiritual communication. Bang! A burst of white smoke appeared, and a huge monster appeared. It was Wanshi. Why did Orochimaru summon me out? Is the sacrifice ready? An arrogant voice came. Stop talking nonsense, 10,000 snakes. Hurry up and do it. Orochimaru said quickly, because Luasha also started to act, and the desert began to run wild. Orochimaru, double the sacrifice. Manshi didn't have the habit of standing and getting beaten, so he waved his huge tail and slapped the overwhelming sand. Zabuza took a look at the huge summoned beast. Manshi's strength has surpassed the level of a Jonin and reached the level of a shadow. It is said that the three ninjas all have their own unique summoned beasts. But now is not the time to think about this. Zabuza directly used the mist hidden technique. In this environment, although the mist hidden technique can be used, it consumes a lot of chakra, but he is no longer the same as before, and he doesn't care about this consumption of chakra. A huge fog enveloped the battlefield, and half of Manshi's body was instantly enveloped. Zabuza's voice suddenly rang around. Humph! A mere trifle. Earth escaped sandstorm. Luo Sha showed disdain on his face, and quickly formed seals with his hands. In an instant, the wind and sand were everywhere, and even the fog dispersed a lot. Kimimaro rushed up to fight with Luo Sha, and the powerful attacks of the two collided with each other. Luo Sha actually collided with Kimamaro's bone spurs with his bare hands. But if you look closely, you will find that every time there is a collision, a layer of fine sand will fall off Luo Sha's body. Kabuto was supporting from the side. Zabuza saw that his fog hiding technique did not work, and most of his own methods were on water escape, but at this time in this environment, the power of water escape was directly several times weaker. Then he could only try martial arts. Means. A force of blood and chi appeared and directly wrapped around the beheading sword. This is a simple use of blood and chi, just like attaching chakra to a ninja tool. Luo Sha pulled back and looked at the lineup in front of him, his mouth twitched. Orochimaru had not yet made a full move, and the huge summoned beast was also eyeing him. This desperate fighting madman in front of him. There is also an elite Jonin to support him, plus Zabuza. Just deal with me alone, isn't this bullying? Luo Sha felt extremely aggrieved at the moment. But he couldn't just sit there and do nothing. After a few simple seals, a huge amount of gold sand appeared. Magnetic escape, golden sand waves. The huge golden sand flew up into the sky like an arm, and violently hit the snakes. The snakes were caught off guard and flew away. He looked at Luasha with a bad look in his eyes, and a gust of sand covered the whole place in an instant. Orochimaru sneered, and after a few seals, he slapped it directly to a place. The original Luasha had turned into a pile of sand. Orochimaru slapped it on the ground, and the black seal rune appeared, and Luasha flew out directly. Puff tilde. He spurted out a mouthful of blood. He didn't expect that Orochimaru had already seen his reaction. Since you can't escape, let's be buried together in this desert. The surrounding sand began to tremble slowly, and then began to flow. The sand within a radius of several hundred meters began to riot. Orochimaru's face was solemn at this moment. Luasha had obviously begun to fight desperately at this moment, completely ignoring the loss of chakra. Kimimaro stood in front of Orochimaru. Willow dance. Dance of the early wares. Orochimaru hurriedly said, Zabuza, Kimimaro's move is extremely powerful and it attacks indiscriminately, don't be careless. Zabuza also walked behind Kimimaro. The overwhelming sand attacked, and Kimimaro's body was instantly covered with bones. White bones instantly rose in this area. Huge pieces of bones rose from the ground. The sound of sand colliding, the sound of bones breaking, and the sound of sand being pierced by bones. The area around Kimimaro was safe. Kimimaro's bloodline limit was shocking, but facing the desperate Rasa at this moment, Kimimaro's bones were actually submerged by the overwhelming sand. Chapter 133. Kimimaro spat out a mouthful of blood, half knelt on one knee, and looked at Orochimaru with a bleak look in his eyes. Lord Orochimaru, I'm sorry to disappoint you. At this moment, Kimimaro hated his blood disease very much. His body was in great pain now. Kabuto immediately stepped forward and used the palm fairy technique to heal Kimimaro's injuries. Although it temporarily stabilized Kimimaro's injuries, it was ultimately a temporary solution. It's okay, Kimimaro, you've done a good job, retreat. Orochimaru said in a cold tone, as if he didn't care about Kimimaro at all. The previous Manjushri, seeing that the situation was not good, directly used the reverse summoning technique to return to the Ryachi cave. Orochimaru stood up. At this moment, he was still in good condition, and Zabuza was also in good condition. At this moment, Rasa, who was performing such a large-scale ninjutsu, must be in poor condition, or perhaps injured. Orochimaru made seals with both hands, and the surrounding sand exploded suddenly, revealing the scenery outside. White bones, sand and gold sand were mixed around. Rasa's clothes were a little tattered, and blood had begun to emerge from some parts of his body. Due to the previous consumption and vigilance against Orochimaru and others, Rasa's energy was dispersed, so that he was slightly injured. The most important thing is that most of his chakra has been consumed at this moment. And he could see that Orochimaru and Zabuza is still in good condition. But if you underestimate me, you will have to pay the price. Orochimaru raised his head, and a sword came out of his mouth. The Kusanagi sword is called a sacred weapon. Orochimaru chopped directly at Rasa. Although Orochimaru's swordsmanship was not very good, with the blessing of the Kusanagi sword, the power was still extremely strong. Zabuza also rushed up, and Rasa relied on the sand armor to fight with the two. Orochimaru's sword was extremely sharp, and the damage to the sand armor was very large. Zabuza's beheading sword was powerful and heavy, so facing the two, Rasa became more and more powerless. Not only that, Orochimaru would summon a few small snakes from time to time for assistance. Rasa's eyes dimmed, and strange energy emerged from Zabuza's body, and his physical skills were extremely powerful. If he hadn't relied on the sand armor, I'm afraid his physical skills would not be as good as Zabuza. Sand barrier. Luo Sha used the sand barrier to separate the two people. In an instant, a huge gold nugget appeared above Orochimaru's head. Due to the barrier, the space was very small. It smashed down heavily. Luo Sha smiled at this moment, as if he had seen the scene of Orochimaru being smashed to pieces. After the gold sand was moved away, Orochimaru's body was no longer in shape. It can be seen that Orochimaru had resisted, so Orochimaru's body was still human. No one can survive such an injury. But Orochimaru is not ordinary people. Just when Rasa was relaxed, Orochimaru came out of the mouth of that body, and the sticky liquid looked extremely disgusting. A small snake took advantage of Rasa's inattention and bit Rasa's arm directly. Rasa's face was in pain, and he directly pinched the small snake to death. At this moment, Rasa was weak and had no strength to maintain the barrier. Zabuza came to Orochimaru, looked at the weak Rasa, then looked at Orochimaru, and exclaimed, "Orochimaru is worthy of being one of the three ninjas. He actually made the fourth Kazekage suffer such a big loss. Go ahead, it's time to end it." Orochimaru said coldly, and couldn't help but glance at Kimimaro. "Ha ha ha, if you want me to die, let's see if you have the ability to do it." Rosa was already crazy at this moment, with blood hanging from his mouth and his arms purple and blue. The overwhelming gold dust attacked from all around. Rosa actually wanted to bury himself together with Orochimaru and others. Gold dust attacked from all around. Orochimaru looked ugly. Rosa actually wanted to die together. The current situation is different from the original. In the original, Orochimaru used the power of impure world reincarnation, but impure world reincarnation requires sacrifices. Because of Zabuza, Orochimaru gave up using impure world reincarnation. At this moment, they were put in such a dangerous place. Orochimaru himself possesses the Great Snake style substitution technique, and his own life-saving ability is also very strong. He can survive, but Zabuza and others may be in danger. The power of the ninjutsu used by Rosa to overdraw his vitality has increased by several levels. Just when Orochimaru was about to give up, Rosa's crazy voice rang out, "Bury with me." With blood hanging from the corner of his mouth, Luo Sha laughed crazily. It didn't matter if he died, Gaara would naturally lead Sand Village to the top for him. Therefore, he was not afraid of death. This move could perhaps be called a super gold sand funeral. Burying himself together. The surrounding gold sand had already surged over, east, south, west, north, and there was no direction to escape. That's it. Zabuza raised his lips, his voice full of sarcasm. Orochimaru, hold on to me. Zabuza's figure rushed directly into the sky. Orochimaru hurriedly grabbed one of Zabuza's hands, hugged Kimimaro and grabbed Orochimaru. The gold dust surged like a tide, and at this moment only the sky was left. Several people flew directly out of the attack range of the gold dust funeral. The gold dust collided heavily with each other, directly into the sky. Then scattered on the ground. Zabuza panted and put Orochimaru and others down. His chakra was almost exhausted at this moment. Although he had attached great importance to Luasha, he did not expect Luasha to be able to burst out such power. The struggle between life and death, the power that burst out is terrifying. Looking at the terrain below that has changed, with gold dust everywhere, I'm afraid Luasha did not expect that his killer move was actually cracked by someone. Even Onoki can't escape from his move, because his flying speed is far slower than Zabuza's. Therefore, he did not imagine that Orochimaru and others could actually escape directly from the sky. Orochimaru looked at the scene below, and said with emotion, "I didn't expect that Mr. Zabuza actually has the secret technique of flying. Flying jutsu is rare in the ninja world, even rarer than space ninjutsu. Being able to fly means my ability to survive is greatly improved. This is not a pseudo-flying ninjutsu like the Tsuchikage Onoki. Onoki's ninjutsu is not of a particularly high level, but because it is very special and can achieve flight, few people can learn it." "You're too kind. Although this kind of ninjutsu is precious, it is only an A-level ninjutsu in our organization. If Lord Orochimaru joins our organization, he can naturally obtain it easily. Moreover, it is very easy in our organization, and we will not do anything that goes against your wishes." Zabuza directly proposed to recruit him. Naruto used to think highly of Orochimaru, but Zabuza didn't take it seriously before. But now Orochimaru has this value. Not to mention Orochimaru himself, he also has a group of capable people under him. Zabuza continued to add, "And Lord Orochimaru, an old friend of yours has also joined our organization." "Oh, who is it?" Orochimaru was now somewhat interested. "Princess Senju," Zabuza said softly. Orochimaru's pupils suddenly widened, and a light of surprise flashed in his eyes. Tsunade actually joined someone else's organization. It's really surprising. I'll go back and think about it. How about it? Orochimaru also smiled at this moment, and Zabuza nodded. Of course, there is no problem. He naturally wouldn't think that a strong man like Orochimaru would join the organization so easily. For the development of the organization, Zabuza has done his best. Chapter 134. Zabuza looked at Orochimaru and nodded, then everyone looked at the place where the golden sand was buried. Orochimaru moved his fingers slightly, and the golden sand was slowly pushed away, and the miserable appearance of Rasa was revealed in front of everyone, with a somewhat satisfied smile on his face. Obviously, he thought that Orochimaru and others would be taken away by his ultimate move, but who could have expected that one of them could fly? If Onoki was trapped inside, even if he could fly, he could not escape from Rasa's attack range, because his flying speed was not as fast as Zabuza. He could only rely on the power of dust release to fight his way out. Rasa's strength is not the strongest among the five shadows. If he is weak, it will be difficult for Meitarumi to defeat him. The third generation Hokage does not seem to have a bloodline limit, but the third generation has many trump cards. The various forbidden techniques developed by the second generation Hokage were basically inherited by the third generation. Just one move of Shiki Fujin. Even the Nine Tails will have to suffer. It can even be said that none of the five Kage could withstand the mutually destructive move of the Shikigami Fujin. In the original work, if Orochimaru had not quickly stabbed Sarutobi Hiruzen, his soul might have been taken away by the god of death. The third Hokage single-handedly took away Orochimaru's hands and the souls of the first Hokage and the second Hokage. Although the first Hokage and the second Hokage were castrated versions, they were also at the level of Kage. The fact that Sarutobi Hiruzen could do this shows how powerful these forbidden techniques are. In the world of Naruto, intelligence is very important. Even someone as strong as Obito and as abnormal as his Kamui are, they can still be targeted if others know the intelligence. This is the charm of tactics and ninjutsu, diverse and unpredictable. Rasa had become a bloody mess. Orochimaru showed a terrifying smile, and then took a little of Rasa's flesh and blood. Then he turned and left with Zabuza and others. Mission accomplished. Shisui poured Zabuza a glass of wine, and Zabuza drank it all in one gulp, then put the glass on the pendant. Wine is still better, tea is really not suitable for me, maybe those nobles will like it. Bitter. After complaining, Zabuza said again. Well, Rasa is very powerful. If I can't fly, I might have fallen there. It is very likely that we will die together. Zabuza briefly recounted what happened. Shisui took a sip of wine and said, that's not necessarily the case. Under such an attack, you may not be able to escape, but Orochimaru will definitely not die. As a traitor, Orochimaru has survived until now. His trump cards and survival ability are absolutely beyond your imagination. My understanding of Orochimaru is limited. I still have the impression of him from the past. After that, Orochimaru started to study forbidden techniques, and his skills are probably more advanced. Naruto should know a lot about Orochimaru. After listening to Shisui's explanation, Zabuza took another sip of wine, and after filling it up again, Zabuza said, yes, it feels like Lord Naruto knows everything. Shisui smiled at Zabuza's words. I used to not believe in innate knowledge, but now I believe it. Naruto is destined to be the savior sent by God to save the ninja world. He was born with destiny. Even if he is not, I will do my best to make him become that person. As long as Naruto is alive, there is hope. That is the future. Shisui's words seemed full of incomprehensible meanings, but Zabuza, who had lived and worked with Shisui for so long, understood most of what Shisui said. After clinking glasses with Shisui, he also laughed. Cheers to tomorrow, Tilda. Cheers. The two drank until late at night, but now there is a little undercurrent in the ninja world. The time for the Chunin exam is getting closer and closer. On Orochimaru's side, Kimimara's injuries have become more serious after the previous battle, and Orochimaru has not found an effective treatment plan. He seems a little impetuous at the moment, and Orochimaru feels very sorry for Kimimaro. In Orochimaru's eyes, Kimimara's potential is directly comparable to the Mangekyo, and he can be called the best candidate for reincarnation. And because of what Naruto said to Orochimaru before, he didn't dare to reincarnate easily again. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and took out the phone that Shisui had given him before. He dialed Shisui's number, and after a few dings, the call was connected. Hello, Orochimaru, have you considered joining us? Sorry, Shisui-kun, I don't want to join any organization yet. That's a pity. If you change your mind, you're always welcome to join us. Shisui glanced at the phone in his hand, then said again, so why did you call, Orochimaru? Zabuza should have told you that Kimimaro beside me, as a member of the Kagaya clan, was born with a bloodline disease. Now Kimimaro's condition is very bad. I want to ask, do you have any solution? The voice of Orochimaru came from the other end of the phone. Shisui was slightly stunned. Hearing Orochimaru's words, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about others. Shisui of Kimimaro naturally heard what Zabuza said. Of course, he knew about the Kagaya clan. He had fought many times during the Third World War. Naturally, he knew about the bloodline limit of the Kagaya clan and the bloodline disease that was born with them. It's just that the time is different for everyone. Perhaps it is because of the bloodline disease of the Kagaya clan that the Kagaya clan is so crazy. Because their lifespans are destined to be short, and Kimimaro's situation is even rarer. After all, it is relatively rare for Kimimaro to have a bloodline disease at such a young age in the Kagaya clan. Wait a minute, I'll ask the leader for you. Shisui responded to Orochimaru, and then made another call, pass the message to the leader. Every time the Umbrella staff in Konoha contacted Naruto, they would contact Naruto through Umbrella. Orochimaru, I have informed the leader. I will give you a reply tomorrow. No problem, thank you for your organization's assistance. Orochimaru hung up the phone. In fact, he also felt that it was rather slim. He just thought of the mystery of the Umbrella organization and simply gave it a try. On Naruto's side, he was directly contacted by the ninja through the chakra chat room. The voice sounded directly in Naruto's mind, and it seemed that there was no change. After Naruto got the news, he left the bustling street and came to the grove where he usually practiced. After a hidden arrangement, Naruto began to contact Shisui. Shisui told him what Orochimaru wanted, but Naruto was a little surprised. Like Shisui, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about Kimamaro's safety. Naruto's memory of Kimamaro emerged in his mind. Kimamaro was a talent, and it was a pity that he died like this. Although Naruto's current medical ninjutsu is the best in Konoha, because Naruto did not continue his studies, Naruto's level is not very outrageous. While thinking, Naruto suddenly thought of someone. Isn't Tsunade in their organization? If Tsunade is added, there may be hope of curing Kimamaro. Zabuza looked at Orochimaru and nodded, then everyone looked at the place where the golden sand was buried. Orochimaru moved his fingers slightly, and the golden sand was slowly pushed away, and the miserable appearance of Rasa was revealed in front of everyone, with a somewhat satisfied smile on his face. Obviously, he thought that Orochimaru and others would be taken away by his ultimate move, but who could have expected that one of them could fly? If Onoki was trapped inside, even if he could fly, he could not escape from Rasa's attack range, because his flying speed was not as fast as Zabuza. He could only rely on the power of dust release to fight his way out. Rasa's strength is not the strongest among the 5 shadows. If he is weak, it will be difficult for Meitarumi to defeat him. The 3rd generation Hokage does not seem to have a bloodline limit, but the 3rd generation has many trump cards. The various forbidden techniques developed by the 2nd generation Hokage were basically inherited by the 3rd generation. Just one move of Shiki Fujin. Even the 9 tails will have to suffer. It can even be said that none of the 5 Kage could withstand the mutually destructive move of the Shikigami Fujin. In the original work, if Orochimaru had not quickly stabbed Sarutobi Hiruzen, his soul might have been taken away by the god of death. The 3rd Hokage single-handedly took away Orochimaru's hands and the souls of the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage. Although the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage were castrated versions, they were also at the level of Kage. The fact that Sarutobi Hiruzen could do this shows how powerful these forbidden techniques are. In the world of Naruto, intelligence is very important. Even someone as strong as Obito and as abnormal as his Kamui are, they can still be targeted if others know the intelligence. This is the charm of tactics and ninjutsu, diverse and unpredictable. Rasa had become a bloody mess. Orochimaru showed a terrifying smile, and then took a little of Rasa's flesh and blood. Then he turned and left with Zabuza and others. Mission accomplished. Shisui poured Zabuza a glass of wine, and Zabuza drank it all in one gulp, then put the glass on the pendant. Wine is still better, tea is really not suitable for me, maybe those nobles will like it. Bitter. After complaining, Zabuza said again, well, Rasa is very powerful, if I can't fly, I might have fallen there. It is very likely that we will die together. Zabuza briefly recounted what happened. Shisui took a sip of wine and said, that's not necessarily the case. Under such an attack, you may not be able to escape, but Orochimaru will definitely not die. As a traitor, Orochimaru has survived until now. His trump cards and survival ability are absolutely beyond your imagination. My understanding of Orochimaru is limited. I still have the impression of him from the past. After that, Orochimaru started to study forbidden techniques, and his skills are probably more advanced. Naruto should know a lot about Orochimaru. After listening to Shisui's explanation, Zabuza took another sip of wine, and after filling it up again, Zabuza said, yes, it feels like Lord Naruto knows everything. Shisui smiled at Zabuza's words. I used to not believe in innate knowledge, but now I believe it. Naruto is destined to be the savior sent by God to save the ninja world. He was born with destiny. Even if he is not, I will do my best to make him become that person. As long as Naruto is alive, there is hope. That is the future. Shisui's words seemed full of incomprehensible meanings, but Zabuza, who had lived and worked with Shisui for so long, understood most of what Shisui said. After clinking glasses with Shisui, he also laughed. Cheers to tomorrow, Tilda. Cheers. The two drank until late at night, but now there is a little undercurrent in the ninja world. The time for the Chunin exam is getting closer and closer. On Orochimaru's side, Kimamaro's injuries have become more serious after the previous battle, and Orochimaru has not found an effective treatment plan. He seems a little impetuous at the moment, and Orochimaru feels very sorry for Kimimaro. In Orochimaru's eyes, Kimamaro's potential is directly comparable to the Mangekyo, and he can be called the best candidate for reincarnation. And because of what Naruto said to Orochimaru before, he didn't dare to reincarnate easily again. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and took out the phone that Shisui had given him before. He dialed Shisui's number, and after a few dings, the call was connected. "Hello, Orochimaru, have you considered joining us?" "Sorry, Shisui-kun, I don't want to join any organization yet." "That's a pity. If you change your mind, you're always welcome to join us." Shisui glanced at the phone in his hand, then said again, "So why did you call, Orochimaru?" "Zabuza should have told you that Kimimaro beside me, as a member of the Kagaya clan, was born with a bloodline disease. Now Kimimaro's condition is very bad. I want to ask, do you have any solution?" The voice of Orochimaru came from the other end of the phone. Shisui was slightly stunned. Hearing Orochimaru's words, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about others. Shisui of Kimimaro naturally heard what Zabuza said. Of course, he knew about the Kagaya clan. He had fought many times during the Third World War. Naturally, he knew about the bloodline limit of the Kagaya clan and the bloodline disease that was born with them. It's just that the time is different for everyone. Perhaps it is because of the bloodline disease of the Kagaya clan that the Kagaya clan is so crazy. Because their lifespans are destined to be short, and Kimimaro's situation is even rarer. After all, it is relatively rare for Kimimaro to have a bloodline disease at such a young age in the Kagaya clan. "Wait a minute, I'll ask the leader for you." Shisui responded to Orochimaru, and then made another call, pass the message to the leader. Every time the Umbrella staff in Konoha contacted Naruto, they would contact Naruto through Umbrella. "Orochimaru, I have informed the leader. I will give you a reply tomorrow." "No problem, thank you for your organization's assistance." Orochimaru hung up the phone. In fact, he also felt that it was rather slim. He just thought of the mystery of the Umbrella organization and simply gave it a try. On Naruto's side, he was directly contacted by the ninja through the chakra chat room. The voice sounded directly in Naruto's mind, and it seemed that there was no change. After Naruto got the news, he left the bustling street and came to the grove where he usually practiced. After a hidden arrangement, Naruto began to contact Shisui. Shisui told him what Orochimaru wanted, but Naruto was a little surprised. Like Shisui, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about Kimimaro's safety. Naruto's memory of Kimimaro emerged in his mind. Kimimaro was a talent, and it was a pity that he died like this. Although Naruto's current medical ninjutsu is the best in Konoha, because Naruto did not continue his studies, Naruto's level is not very outrageous. While thinking, Naruto suddenly thought of someone. Isn't Tsunade in their organization? If Tsunade is added, there may be hope of curing Kimimaro. Zabuza looked at Orochimaru and nodded, then everyone looked at the place where the golden sand was buried. Orochimaru moved his fingers slightly, and the golden sand was slowly pushed away, and the miserable appearance of Rasa was revealed in front of everyone, with a somewhat satisfied smile on his face. Obviously, he thought that Orochimaru and others would be taken away by his ultimate move, but who could have expected that one of them could fly? If Onoki was trapped inside, even if he could fly, he could not escape from Rasa's attack range, because his flying speed was not as fast as Zabuza. He could only rely on the power of dust release to fight his way out. Rasa's strength is not the strongest among the five shadows. If he is weak, it will be difficult for Meitarumi to defeat him. The third generation Hokage does not seem to have a bloodline limit, but the third generation has many trump cards. The various forbidden techniques developed by the second generation Hokage were basically inherited by the third generation. Just one move of Shiki Fujin. Even the Nine Tails will have to suffer. It can even be said that none of the five Kage could withstand the mutually destructive move of the Shikigami Fujin. In the original work, If Orochimaru had not quickly stabbed Sarutobi Hiruzen, his soul might have been taken away by the god of death. The third Hokage single-handedly took away Orochimaru's hands and the souls of the first Hokage and the second Hokage. Although the first Hokage and the second Hokage were castrated versions, they were also at the level of Kage. The fact that Sarutobi Hiruzen could do this shows how powerful these forbidden techniques are. In the world of Naruto, intelligence is very important. Even someone as strong as Obito and as abnormal as his Kamui are, they can still be targeted if others know the intelligence. This is the charm of tactics and ninjutsu, diverse and unpredictable. Rasa had become a bloody mess. Orochimaru showed a terrifying smile, and then took a little of Rasa's flesh and blood. Then he turned and left with Zabuza and others. Mission accomplished. Shisui poured Zabuza a glass of wine, and Zabuza drank it all in one gulp, then put the glass on the pendant. Wine is still better, tea is really not suitable for me, maybe those nobles will like it. Bitter. After complaining, Zabuza said again, well, Rasa is very powerful, if I can't fly, I might have fallen there. It is very likely that we will die together. Zabuza briefly recounted what happened. Shisui took a sip of wine and said, that's not necessarily the case. Under such an attack, you may not be able to escape, but Orochimaru will definitely not die. As a traitor, Orochimaru has survived until now. His trump cards and survival ability are absolutely beyond your imagination. My understanding of Orochimaru is limited. I still have the impression of him from the past. After that, Orochimaru started to study forbidden techniques, and his skills are probably more advanced. Naruto should know a lot about Orochimaru. After listening to Shisui's explanation, Zabuza took another sip of wine, and after filling it up again, Zabuza said, yes, it feels like Lord Naruto knows everything. Shisui smiled at Zabuza's words. I used to not believe in innate knowledge, but now I believe it. Naruto is destined to be the savior sent by God to save the ninja world. He was born with destiny. Even if he is not, I will do my best to make him become that person. As long as Naruto is alive, there is hope. That is the future. Shisui's words seemed full of incomprehensible meanings, but Zabuza, who had lived and worked with Shisui for so long, understood most of what Shisui said. After clinking glasses with Shisui, he also laughed. Cheers to tomorrow, Tilda. Cheers. The two drank until late at night, but now there is a little undercurrent in the ninja world. The time for the Chunin exam is getting closer and closer. On Orochimaru's side, Kimimara's injuries have become more serious after the previous battle, and Orochimaru has not found an effective treatment plan. He seems a little impetuous at the moment, and Orochimaru feels very sorry for Kimimaro. In Orochimaru's eyes, Kimimara's potential is directly comparable to the Mangekyo, and he can be called the best candidate for reincarnation. And because of what Naruto said to Orochimaru before, he didn't dare to reincarnate easily again. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and took out the phone that Shisui had given him before. He dialed Shisui's number, and after a few dings, the call was connected. Hello, Orochimaru, have you considered joining us? Sorry, Shisui-kun, I don't want to join any organization yet. That's a pity. If you change your mind, you're always welcome to join us. Shisui glanced at the phone in his hand, then said again, so why did you call, Orochimaru? Zabuza should have told you that Kimimaro beside me, as a member of the Kagaya clan, was born with a bloodline disease. Now Kimimaro's condition is very bad. I want to ask, do you have any solution? The voice of Orochimaru came from the other end of the phone. Shisui was slightly stunned. Hearing Orochimaru's words, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about others. Shisui of Kimimaro naturally heard what Zabuza said. Of course, he knew about the Kagaya clan. He had fought many times during the Third World War. Naturally, he knew about the bloodline limit of the Kagaya clan and the bloodline disease that was born with them. It's just that the time is different for everyone. Perhaps it is because of the bloodline disease of the Kagaya clan that the Kagaya clan is so crazy. Because their lifespans are destined to be short, and Kimamaro's situation is even rarer. After all, it is relatively rare for Kimamaro to have a bloodline disease at such a young age in the Kagaya clan. Wait a minute, I'll ask the leader for you. Shisui responded to Orochimaru, and then made another call, pass the message to the leader. Every time the Umbrella staff in Konoha contacted Naruto, they would contact Naruto through Umbrella. Orochimaru, I have informed the leader. I will give you a reply tomorrow. No problem, thank you for your organization's assistance. Orochimaru hung up the phone. In fact, he also felt that it was rather slim. He just thought of the mystery of the Umbrella organization and simply gave it a try. On Naruto's side, he was directly contacted by the ninja through the chakra chat room. The voice sounded directly in Naruto's mind, and it seemed that there was no change. After Naruto got the news, he left the bustling street and came to the grove where he usually practiced. After a hidden arrangement, Naruto began to contact Shisui. Shisui told him what Orochimaru wanted, but Naruto was a little surprised. Like Shisui, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about Kimamaro's safety. Naruto's memory of Kimamaro emerged in his mind. Kimamaro was a talent, and it was a pity that he died like this. Although Naruto's current medical ninjutsu is the best in Konoha, because Naruto did not continue his studies, Naruto's level is not very outrageous. While thinking, Naruto suddenly thought of someone. Isn't Tsunade in their organization? If Tsunade is added, there may be hope of curing Kimamaro. Zabuza looked at Orochimaru and nodded, then everyone looked at the place where the golden sand was buried. Orochimaru moved his fingers slightly, and the golden sand was slowly pushed away, and the miserable appearance of Rasa was revealed in front of everyone, with a somewhat satisfied smile on his face. Obviously, he thought that Orochimaru and others would be taken away by his ultimate move, but who could have expected that one of them could fly? If Onoki was trapped inside, even if he could fly, he could not escape from Rasa's attack range, because his flying speed was not as fast as Zabuza. He could only rely on the power of dust release to fight his way out. Rasa's strength is not the strongest among the 5 shadows. If he is weak, it will be difficult for Meitarumi to defeat him. The 3rd generation Hokage does not seem to have a bloodline limit, but the 3rd generation has many trump cards. The various forbidden techniques developed by the 2nd generation Hokage were basically inherited by the 3rd generation. Just one move of Shiki Fujin. Even the 9 tails will have to suffer. It can even be said that none of the 5 Kage could withstand the mutually destructive move of the Shikigami Fujin. In the original work, if Orochimaru had not quickly stabbed Sarutobi Hiruzen, his soul might have been taken away by the god of death. The 3rd Hokage single-handedly took away Orochimaru's hands and the souls of the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage. Although the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage were castrated versions, they were also at the level of Kage. The fact that Sarutobi Hiruzen could do this shows how powerful these forbidden techniques are. In the world of Naruto, intelligence is very important. Even someone as strong as Obito and as abnormal as his Kamui are, they can still be targeted if others know the intelligence. This is the charm of tactics and ninjutsu, diverse and unpredictable. Rasa had become a bloody mess. Orochimaru showed a terrifying smile, and then took a little of Rasa's flesh and blood. Then he turned and left with Zabuza and others. Mission accomplished. Shisui poured Zabuza a glass of wine, and Zabuza drank it all in one gulp, then put the glass on the pendant. Wine is still better, tea is really not suitable for me, maybe those nobles will like it. Bitter. After complaining, Zabuza said again, well, Rasa is very powerful, if I can't fly, I might have fallen there. It is very likely that we will die together. Zabuza briefly recounted what happened. Shisui took a sip of wine and said, that's not necessarily the case. Under such an attack, you may not be able to escape, but Orochimaru will definitely not die. As a traitor, Orochimaru has survived until now. His trump cards and survival ability are absolutely beyond your imagination. My understanding of Orochimaru is limited. I still have the impression of him from the past. After that, Orochimaru started to study forbidden techniques, and his skills are probably more advanced. Naruto should know a lot about Orochimaru. After listening to Shisui's explanation, Zabuza took another sip of wine, and after filling it up again, Zabuza said, "Yes, it feels like Lord Naruto knows everything." Shisui smiled at Zabuza's words. "I used to not believe in innate knowledge, but now I believe it. Naruto is destined to be the savior sent by God to save the ninja world. He was born with destiny. Even if he is not, I will do my best to make him become that person. As long as Naruto is alive, there is hope. That is the future." Shisui's words seemed full of incomprehensible meanings, but Zabuza, who had lived and worked with Shisui for so long, understood most of what Shisui said. After clinking glasses with Shisui, he also laughed. "Cheers to tomorrow, Tilda." "Cheers." The two drank until late at night, but now there is a little undercurrent in the ninja world. The time for the Chunin exam is getting closer and closer. On Orochimaru's side, Kimamaro's injuries have become more serious after the previous battle, and Orochimaru has not found an effective treatment plan. He seems a little impetuous at the moment, and Orochimaru feels very sorry for Kimamaro. In Orochimaru's eyes, Kimamaro's potential is directly comparable to the Mangekyo, and he can be called the best candidate for reincarnation. And because of what Naruto said to Orochimaru before, he didn't dare to reincarnate easily again. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and took out the phone that Shisui had given him before. He dialed Shisui's number, and after a few dings, the call was connected. "Hello, Orochimaru, have you considered joining us?" "Sorry, Shisui-kun, I don't want to join any organization yet." "That's a pity. If you change your mind, you're always welcome to join us." Shisui glanced at the phone in his hand, then said again, "So why did you call, Orochimaru?" "Zabuza should have told you that Kimamaro beside me, as a member of the Kagaya clan, was born with a bloodline disease. Now Kimamaro's condition is very bad. I want to ask, do you have any solution?" The voice of Orochimaru came from the other end of the phone. Shisui was slightly stunned. Hearing Orochimaru's words, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about others. Shisui of Kimamaro naturally heard what Zabuza said. Of course, he knew about the Kagaya clan. He had fought many times during the Third World War. Naturally, he knew about the bloodline limit of the Kagaya clan and the bloodline disease that was born with them. It's just that the time is different for everyone. Perhaps it is because of the bloodline disease of the Kagaya clan that the Kagaya clan is so crazy. Because their lifespans are destined to be short, and Kimamaro's situation is even rarer. After all, it is relatively rare for Kimamaro to have a bloodline disease at such a young age in the Kagaya clan. "Wait a minute, I'll ask the leader for you." Shisui responded to Orochimaru, and then made another call, pass the message to the leader. Every time the Umbrella staff in Konoha contacted Naruto, they would contact Naruto through Umbrella. "Orochimaru, I have informed the leader. I will give you a reply tomorrow." "No problem, thank you for your organization's assistance." Orochimaru hung up the phone. In fact, he also felt that it was rather slim. He just thought of the mystery of the Umbrella organization and simply gave it a try. On Naruto's side, he was directly contacted by the ninja through the chakra chat room. The voice sounded directly in Naruto's mind, and it seemed that there was no change. After Naruto got the news, he left the bustling street and came to the grove where he usually practiced. After a hidden arrangement, Naruto began to contact Shisui. Shisui told him what Orochimaru wanted, but Naruto was a little surprised. Like Shisui, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about Kimamaro's safety. Naruto's memory of Kimamaro emerged in his mind. Kimamaro was a talent, and it was a pity that he died like this. Although Naruto's current medical ninjutsu is the best in Konoha, because Naruto did not continue his studies, Naruto's level is not very outrageous. While thinking, Naruto suddenly thought of someone. Isn't Tsunade in their organization? If Tsunade is added, there may be hope of curing Kimamaro. Zabuza looked at Orochimaru and nodded, Then everyone looked at the place where the golden sand was buried. Orochimaru moved his fingers slightly, and the golden sand was slowly pushed away, and the miserable appearance of Rasa was revealed in front of everyone, with a somewhat satisfied smile on his face. Obviously, he thought that Orochimaru and others would be taken away by his ultimate move, but who could have expected that one of them could fly? If Onoki was trapped inside, even if he could fly, he could not escape from Rasa's attack range, because his flying speed was not as fast as Zabuza. He could only rely on the power of dust release to fight his way out. Rasa's strength is not the strongest among the 5 shadows. If he is weak, it will be difficult for Meitarumi to defeat him. The 3rd generation Hokage does not seem to have a bloodline limit, but the 3rd generation has many trump cards. The various forbidden techniques developed by the 2nd generation Hokage were basically inherited by the 3rd generation. Just one move of Shiki Fujin. Even the 9 tails will have to suffer. It can even be said that none of the 5 Kage could withstand the mutually destructive move of the Shikigami Fujin. In the original work, if Orochimaru had not quickly stabbed Sarutobi Hiruzen, his soul might have been taken away by the god of death. The 3rd Hokage single-handedly took away Orochimaru's hands and the souls of the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage. Although the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage were castrated versions, they were also at the level of Kage. The fact that Sarutobi Hiruzen could do this shows how powerful these forbidden techniques are. In the world of Naruto, intelligence is very important. Even someone as strong as Obito and as abnormal as his Kamui are, they can still be targeted if others know the intelligence. This is the charm of tactics and ninjutsu, diverse and unpredictable. Rasa had become a bloody mess. Orochimaru showed a terrifying smile, and then took a little of Rasa's flesh and blood. Then he turned and left with Zabuza and others. Mission accomplished. Shisui poured Zabuza a glass of wine, and Zabuza drank it all in one gulp, then put the glass on the pendant. Wine is still better, tea is really not suitable for me, maybe those nobles will like it. Bitter. After complaining, Zabuza said again, well, Rasa is very powerful, if I can't fly, I might have fallen there. It is very likely that we will die together. Zabuza briefly recounted what happened. Shisui took a sip of wine and said, that's not necessarily the case. Under such an attack, you may not be able to escape, but Orochimaru will definitely not die. As a traitor, Orochimaru has survived until now. His trump cards and survival ability are absolutely beyond your imagination. My understanding of Orochimaru is limited. I still have the impression of him from the past. After that, Orochimaru started to study forbidden techniques, and his skills are probably more advanced. Naruto should know a lot about Orochimaru. After listening to Shisui's explanation, Zabuza took another sip of wine, and after filling it up again, Zabuza said, yes, it feels like Lord Naruto knows everything. Shisui smiled at Zabuza's words. I used to not believe in innate knowledge, but now I believe it. Naruto is destined to be the savior sent by God to save the ninja world. He was born with destiny. Even if he is not, I will do my best to make him become that person. As long as Naruto is alive, there is hope. That is the future. Shisui's words seemed full of incomprehensible meanings, but Zabuza, who had lived and worked with Shisui for so long, understood most of what Shisui said. After clinking glasses with Shisui, he also laughed. Cheers to tomorrow, Tilda. Cheers. The two drank until late at night, but now there is a little undercurrent in the ninja world. The time for the Chunin exam is getting closer and closer. On Orochimaru's side, Kimimara's injuries have become more serious after the previous battle, and Orochimaru has not found an effective treatment plan. He seems a little impetuous at the moment, and Orochimaru feels very sorry for Kimimaro. In Orochimaru's eyes, Kimimara's potential is directly comparable to the Mangekyo, and he can be called the best candidate for reincarnation. And because of what Naruto said to Orochimaru before, he didn't dare to reincarnate easily again. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and took out the phone that Shisui had given him before. He dialed Shisui's number, and after a few dings, the call was connected. Hello, Orochimaru, have you considered joining us? Sorry, Shisui-kun, I don't want to join any organization yet. That's a pity. If you change your mind, you're always welcome to join us. Shisui glanced at the phone in his hand, then said again, so why did you call, Orochimaru? Zabuza should have told you that Kimimaro beside me, as a member of the Kagaya clan, was born with a bloodline disease. Now Kimimaro's condition is very bad. I want to ask, do you have any solution? The voice of Orochimaru came from the other end of the phone. Shisui was slightly stunned. Hearing Orochimaru's words, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about others. Shisui of Kimimaro naturally heard what Zabuza said. Of course, he knew about the Kagaya clan. He had fought many times during the Third World War. Naturally, he knew about the bloodline limit of the Kagaya clan and the bloodline disease that was born with them. It's just that the time is different for everyone. Perhaps it is because of the bloodline disease of the Kagaya clan that the Kagaya clan is so crazy. Because their lifespans are destined to be short, and Kimimaro's situation is even rarer. After all, it is relatively rare for Kimimaro to have a bloodline disease at such a young age in the Kagaya clan. Wait a minute, I'll ask the leader for you. Shisui responded to Orochimaru, and then made another call, pass the message to the leader. Every time the Umbrella staff in Konoha contacted Naruto, they would contact Naruto through Umbrella. Orochimaru, I have informed the leader. I will give you a reply tomorrow. No problem, thank you for your organization's assistance. Orochimaru hung up the phone. In fact, he also felt that it was rather slim. He just thought of the mystery of the Umbrella organization and simply gave it a try. On Naruto's side, he was directly contacted by the ninja through the chakra chat room. The voice sounded directly in Naruto's mind, and it seemed that there was no change. After Naruto got the news, he left the bustling street and came to the grove where he usually practiced. After a hidden arrangement, Naruto began to contact Shisui. Shisui told him what Orochimaru wanted, but Naruto was a little surprised. Like Shisui, he didn't expect Orochimaru to care about Kimimaro's safety. Naruto's memory of Kimimaro emerged in his mind. Kimimaro was a talent, and it was a pity that he died like this. Although Naruto's current medical ninjutsu is the best in Konoha, because Naruto did not continue his studies, Naruto's level is not very outrageous. While thinking, Naruto suddenly thought of someone. Isn't Tsunade in their organization? If Tsunade is added, there may be hope of curing Kimimaro. Chapter 135. The more Naruto thought about it, the brighter his eyes became. He also wanted to see how amazing the medical skills of Tsunade, the medical master, were. From the previous assignments for Tsunade, it was clear that Tsunade's skills were extremely high. Naruto had previously used the ability of God's reward for hard work to improve his medical ninjutsu to a very high level. With only the books and scrolls of Konoha, Naruto's palm technique was already very proficient. If Tsunade hadn't come out, it was estimated that Naruto's medical skills would be the highest in the entire Konoha. However, due to the lack of subsequent improvement, although God's reward for hard work could still slowly improve his medical ninjutsu, the gains would not outweigh the losses. Therefore, he did not continue to improve his medical skills for the time being. After all, it was enough for now. Naruto immediately responded to Shisui. Shisui, have you forgotten that there is another big shot in our organization? After listening to what Naruto said, Naruto often spoke golden sentences. Shisui also knew what the big shot meant, a person who was very powerful in some aspects. Since Naruto said this, it quickly spread in the Umbrella organization. Later, someone even summarized Naruto's words. Shisui hesitated for a moment and said, "Are you referring to Tsunade-sama?" That's right, with Tsunade's medical level, even if she can't cure him, she can delay Kimimaro's death. With me, maybe there's a chance that Kimimaro can be cured. After all, Kimimaro is a rare talent. Naruto said slowly. Shisui was silent for 2 seconds. He also knew what Naruto meant and agreed softly. Tsunade and Naruto might really be able to cure Kimimaro. Even if they can't, Orochimaru can owe them a favor. I'll contact Orochimaru right away. Shisui said softly, and hung up Naruto's phone temporarily. Naruto sensed the surroundings and found no one, then began to practice. Slowly absorbing the natural energy around him. Part of it merged with the chakra, and part of it tempered the body and merged with the martial arts blood. Suddenly, Naruto felt a sense of surveillance in his heart. Naruto realized that it was Sarutobi Hiruzen's telescope technique. Naruto ignored it and pretended to refine chakra. The telescope technique can only see his appearance, and can't see what changes have taken place in his body. After a while, the feeling of surveillance disappeared. Naruto opened his eyes and looked, then closed his eyes again. Shisui, on his side, has already started to contact Orochimaru. After hearing that he was somewhat sure, Orochimaru showed a hint of joy, thinking unexpectedly, the umbrella organization actually has some solution. It just doesn't mean it will succeed. But it's worth a try. At this moment, he has forgotten that Tsunade is in the umbrella organization. Although Zabuza mentioned it, he wanted to recruit him into the organization more. Therefore, he didn't think that it was Tsunade who treated Kimimaro. At the same time, Naruto also has to participate in Kimimaro's treatment. However, because of the problem that cannot be exposed for the time being, Kimimaro will serve as a member of the umbrella organization. Although Orochimaru hesitated, he agreed. After all, if Kimimaro does not receive treatment, he may not be able to hold on for a year. It's better to give it a try. Tsunade suddenly received a task from her superiors, saying that an important member of the organization will be handed over to him for treatment. At this time, Naruto has not noticed that he ignored an important question. Tsunade was a little stunned. Although she is now considered a senior executive of the organization, she has never participated in the organization's senior meetings, and has not even met several senior executives. She also knows that her identity is special, and after a long time she no longer wants to pry into the secrets of the umbrella executives. One day she will know. And she is very happy now. In this space, she is the most important existence. No one controls her, and she can fly a plane for a ride from time to time. Life is so comfortable. Orochimaru was very fast. He stuffed Kimimaro into Zabuza's hands and brought him back that day. The next day, Kimimaro appeared here with Tsunade. Kimimaro also wanted to heal his body as soon as possible. Although it is not 100% curable, it also allows Tsunade to. He had the idea of working for Orochimaru again. As long as his body was healed, he could stay by Orochimaru's side forever. The only one who could become the vessel of Lord Orochimaru was him. Not the so-called Uchiha Sasuke. There was a hint of fanaticism in Kimimaro's eyes, but Zabuza did not notice. Seeing Zabuza appear in front of her with a young boy, Tsunade knew that the boy in front of her was her patient. Among the senior executives of Umbrella, the only one Tsunade had come into contact with was Zabuza, and she knew nothing about him at the moment. However, she had enough authority to access the internal information and some ninjutsu of Umbrella. Tsunade looked at Kimimaro. Could he be from the Kagaya clan? Tsunade probably knew what happened to the boy, but he had a bloodline disease at such a young age. He is from the Kagaya clan, right? He is the one I will treat. Tsunade said casually. That's right, his name is Kagaya Kimimaro, please. Zabuza said respectfully. Tsunade gave a wry smile and said, you think too highly of me. You don't think the Kagaya family's bloodline disease is that simple, do you? Although Tsunade is a medical expert in the ninja world, she has also heard of the Kagaya family's bloodline disease. Any disease related to the bloodline disease is not a simple disease. And she has no case records of the Kagaya family, and has never conducted any research. If there were previous cases, it might be much easier. There is a certain success rate, but now, she can only try her best. If she can't cure it, she can't do anything. Zabuza looked up and said, this is natural, so the leader of our organization will do it personally, and our leader is also an outstanding medical expert. Zabuza didn't use the word ninja. Tsunade looked at Zabuza in surprise. Was the leader who was so elusive actually going to come in person? Did he think so highly of this young man? Tsunade looked at Kimimaro. In fact, Naruto didn't care about Kimimaro. Although Kimimaro was powerful, he was at most at the level of Kage. Although Naruto needed a Kage-level strongman, he needed more technical talents like Orochimaru. Only people like Orochimaru could bring greater value. Naruto had already started to rush here, and Tsunade took Kimimaro into the hospital. Soon, Naruto arrived here. It was the first time that Tsunade saw the founder of this umbrella, and deep curiosity flashed in her eyes. He wrote such a shocking theory. I thought he was an old man, but I didn't expect him to be so young. Looking at the rich breath of life on his body, he didn't fit the image of an old man. At this moment, Naruto was tall. With sufficient nutritional supplements, Naruto's height was the same as that of the original 3 years later. However, Naruto's face was covered by a mask, and Tsunade couldn't see Naruto's appearance, but Naruto always gave her a familiar feeling. Chapter 136. And in Tsunade's perception, Naruto's chakra is huge, but Naruto did not borrow the Nine Tails chakra this time. Yes, this Naruto is not the real body. But the amount of chakra on his body is far more than the original Naruto. This amount of chakra makes Tsunade curious. This amount of chakra may only be possessed by the Uzumaki clan. Are you from the Uzumaki clan? Tsunade said, looking at the young man in front of her who was called the leader. Naruto had a strong aura, and there was no doubt that he was the aura of a Kage-level strongman, and he was not an ordinary Kage-level strongman. This was what Naruto showed deliberately. There was no need to hide his strength or pretend to be awesome in front of his own people. On the contrary, the strength he showed was recognized by Tsunade. Naruto smiled and said to Tsunade, I guess so. Then he turned and walked towards the hospital. Looking at Naruto's background, Tsunade was a little confused. It was indeed possible that there were lost members of the Uzumaki clan in the ninja world today. But it was rare to be so young and so powerful. Naruto did not explain. After all, he had half of the Uzumaki clan bloodline, so he could be counted as a member of the Uzumaki clan. Tsunade and others followed Naruto into the hospital. After arriving in a fairly spacious room, Naruto found a chair to sit down and patted the cushion, which was a leather cushion. Naruto looked up at Tsunade, and Tsunade's charming eyes kept scanning Naruto. Can I see your true face? Tsunade suddenly said. Naruto crossed his hands and supported himself on the table, exuding an indescribable aura. Let's talk about it later. My current identity is not suitable to be exposed. There will be a chance in the future. Now let's talk about Kimimaro's treatment plan. Sit down and talk. Naruto pointed at the table, a long table, which was usually used for meetings. Tsunade sat down, and Zabuza wanted to sit for a while, but then he heard Naruto say, Zabuza, take Kimimaro for a walk, and leave this to Tsunade and me. Well, Zabuza was about to sit down, but when he heard Naruto's words, he had to take Kimimaro to the camp for a walk. After all, he probably couldn't understand what Naruto and Tsunade were saying. After Zabuza took people out, Naruto said, Tsunade, you should know how serious Kimimaro's condition is, but he is very important to me, please be sure to cure him. When talking about this, Tsunade was obviously very serious. After thinking for a while, she said, I don't know much about the blood inheritance disease of the Kagaya clan. Now even the Kagaya clan has perished, and it is impossible to find a case. Therefore, I am not sure that I can cure that young man from the Kagaya clan in one go. I understand. Don't I have someone to help you? Naruto waved his hand. Tsunade then remembered that Zabuza seemed to have said that Naruto was a medical expert. Tsunade asked a few questions about medical treatment casually. Unexpectedly, Naruto answered fluently, and even answered in a way that Tsunade felt was a bit beautiful. Tsunade, who was excited to see the prey, excitedly discussed with Naruto. Naruto's reserve of medical knowledge made Tsunade feel that Naruto was not inferior to her at all. Naruto even had some ideas from his previous life, which also made Tsunade gain something. Even Naruto's idea of medical subdivision made Tsunade even more astonished. In this world, in terms of medical treatment, most ordinary people use herbs, and a few close to modern medical treatments have also developed, but they are not yet mature. Konoha, on the other hand, is the place with the most comprehensive medical system in the entire ninja world. The related surgeries are due to chakra, because of the fact that they have developed very strong. Even if they are seriously injured, a palm fairy technique may be able to cure them. Therefore, the subdivision of medical care is much worse. Because a medical ninja can fully serve as a doctor in many aspects. Naruto's ideas about the subdivision of departments in different aspects made Tsunade's eyes light up. Medical ninjas are difficult to train. Not only do they require a large amount of medical knowledge reserves, but they also require talent. Both are indispensable. If they are subdivided, each person will learn much less knowledge, which will be much easier. This will not only reduce the difficulty but also allow more people to become medical ninjas. Although a person is no longer nearly omnipotent, it also makes the path of medical ninjas more colorful. Tsunade glanced at Naruto. It's hard to imagine that you are only this old. In Tsunade's eyes, Naruto now may be a young man in his 20s, but what she didn't expect was that Naruto was younger than she thought. Ha ha ha, genius knows no age. Naruto said with a smile. Although his words were a bit crazy, they did not make Tsunade feel uncomfortable at all. Let's go, you have basically understood my medical level, and all that's left is practice. We need to observe Kimamaro's situation before we know what to do. Naruto stood up and said. The two walked out of the room together and found Zabuza and the other man. At this moment, Zabuza was taking Kimamaro around everywhere. Kimamaro was also curiously looking at everything around him. It was more sunny here than at Orochimaru's place, and the faces of the residents here were also filled with happiness. Most of Orochimaru's bases are built in the basement. Although he can come out occasionally, the environment is naturally not as good as here. But he still likes to stay with Orochimaru. He is meaningful only where Orochimaru is. Naruto and Tsunade found Kimamaro. Kimamaro, we may have to do a physical examination on you next. I hope you are ready. Kimamaro nodded. In Orochimaru's base, Kabuto also often examined him. He didn't know how many times he had his blood drawn. Kimamaro followed Naruto to a room where there were some high-precision medical instruments. Lie down. Naruto put on a white coat and said to Kimamaro. Tsunade also put on a doctor's uniform. She looked even more beautiful at this time. Naruto turned his head quickly and said in his heart, this is a man in his 50s. I dare not think about it. Kimamaro was lying on the bed. Naruto shone the machine on Kimamaro's body and used medical ninjutsu to explore Kimamaro's inside. According to the display on the machine, some dark shadows appeared in some places inside Kimamaro. Tsunade also began to explore Kimamaro's body, and then a solemn look appeared on their faces. We want to fully understand Kimamaro's condition, so I'm afraid we'll have to do surgery. Naruto said slowly. Surgery? Wouldn't that mean blood would be shed? Tsunade was stunned. Being a doctor, you are afraid of seeing blood. Seeing blood. Naruto was still talking, and suddenly he hit his head. He almost forgot that Tsunade suffered from hemophobia. This is a big problem. It is not difficult to say whether hemophobia is difficult or not. In fact, it is more of a psychological problem. But when it comes to psychology, there is no simple one. Naruto had a headache. If Tsunade's hemophobia was not cured, then it would be impossible to achieve certain achievements in the work ward. Chapter 137. I almost forgot. Naruto said helplessly. Tsunade was stunned for a moment and said, what did you forget? Naruto rolled his eyes at her and said, "Your hemophobia. If it weren't for you, I might not be able to think of a solution in a short time, and Kimimaro won't be able to hold on until then." Looking at Tsunade's surprised expression, Naruto replied, "Don't underestimate our intelligence network." Naruto said lightly. In fact, this was not brought by the intelligence at all, but something in Naruto's memory. Tsunade thought of the mysterious umbrella organization and didn't say much. Although few people knew that she suffered from hemophobia, who knows where Umbrella got the news from. Naruto looked at Tsunade in front of him. Hemophobia is troublesome, but it's not troublesome either. How to solve Tsunade's hemophobia? Naruto frowned, looked up at Tsunade, and suddenly a light bulb went off in his head and said, "Tsunade, I have an idea that can cure your hemophobia. I wonder if you are willing to try it." "Oh. Do you have any idea?" Tsunade asked curiously. Of course, hemophobia is only a kind of psychological disease after all. In fact, as long as you overcome the fear in your heart, hemophobia will naturally break down by itself. Naruto's words made Tsunade smile bitterly. Since she came into contact with the concept that psychology is also a kind of disease, Tsunade naturally knew that hemophobia is a kind of psychological disease. But it is not so easy to cure it. She herself has no idea where to start. As the saying goes, a doctor can treat others, but it is difficult to heal himself. Tsunade is in this situation. She has also tried to overcome hemophobia, but it is still disappointing. It's not that easy. Tsunade smiled bitterly. I know, but if you believe me, I can use illusion to heal you. Naruto said seriously. Illusion. That's right, it's illusion. The essence of illusion is the product of yin attribute chakra combined with spiritual energy, which can be completely effective in psychological treatment. Naruto said confidently. He dared to mention it, so he was sure of it. He planned to use double illusion to help Tsunade overcome hemophobia. Let Tsunade immerse in an illusion, and she can't realize that this is an illusion world. The other illusion makes Tsunade experience everything in the past. If it fails, keep the cycle. In the illusion world, time passes quickly. But to achieve this effect, at least A-level illusion is required. But it happened that Naruto had just developed an A-level illusion, boundless sinking. But Tsunade's only need to reduce the power and change the nature. As soon as they said it, the two planned to give it a try. Tsunade didn't want to face hemophobia all day long. Think about her. A cage-level warrior, but he is like a weakling in front of blood. How ridiculous. With only 2 seals, Naruto cast this illusion. It would take more than a dozen seals for another person. Tsunade did not resist and was soon immersed in Naruto's illusion. A quarter of an hour passed, and Naruto frowned. It seems that hemophobia has a great impact on Tsunade. Naruto plans to observe it for a while and then cancel the illusion. After all, this illusion will damage the spirit over time. Although Naruto used a castrated version on Tsunade. After observing for a while, Naruto found that Tsunade did not seem to wake up yet. Just when Naruto was about to cancel the illusion and try another method, Tsunade suddenly sat up. Who? Tsunade's forehead was covered with sweat and she was breathing heavily. How is the effect? Naruto looked at Tsunade jokingly. Tsunade looked at Naruto and couldn't help but have an urge to beat him up. After all, Naruto didn't say that she would have to go through those painful memories at the beginning. In the first illusion, Tsunade forgot who she was and worked as an ordinary doctor all day long. Then she gradually awakened her memory, and then the scene changed, and the past pain resurfaced, and the previous doctor's memory also appeared in fragments in her mind. This made her even more painful, and then she repeated this process, and finally she got used to facing blood. Or numb, and naturally overcame the hemophobia. But this process made Tsunade couldn't help but have an urge to beat Naruto violently. But she held back. If she couldn't beat him, it would be embarrassing. It looks like you should be fine, so let's give it a try. Naruto grinned, and then took out a kunai. Swish. A stream of blood slowly flowed out from under Naruto's arm and flowed to the ground. Tsunade's pupils dilated instantly, and her body trembled slightly, but she no longer looked limp as she did before when she saw the blood. Naruto smiled when he saw this scene. He knew that Tsunade was close to success. There was basically no problem. After waiting for a while, Naruto asked Kimimaro to lie down again, and reminded him, "This time I will give you anesthesia and check your physical condition." Kimimaro was not afraid that Naruto would harm him. After all, he might not be alive soon. This time he came here to take a chance. Kimimaro nodded indifferently, then lay down. Naruto anesthetized him, and let Kimimaro fall into a deep sleep. Then he directly cut open Kimimaro's body. Naruto's hand was very steady. Basically no blood came out. The little bit of blood was sealed by Naruto. Tsunade also came over. She knew that her hemophobia was almost over. The two carefully watched the condition of Kimimaro's body. With their experience, they could easily see that Kimimaro's organs had begun to fail. As for the saying that Kimimaro used the bones and put them back into the body in the previous life, and was infected by bacteria, Naruto sneered. With the existence of chakra, it is difficult for bacteria to invade the human body. Chakra can kill bacteria directly. What's more, when Kimimaro is fighting, there will be a layer of light chakra covering his bones. This is used to enhance strength. The blood is dim and the breath of life is weak. If this continues, Kimimaro's condition is estimated to be only a few months. What did you see? Tsunade looked at Naruto. Naruto turned his eyes away from Kimimaro's internal organs, looked at Tsunade, then picked up a small flashlight and looked again. The lesion cannot be found for the time being, or there are multiple causes. I have a guess that when he used his bloodline limit, his bones grew too much, and his body elements were scarce. This is just a suspicion. He slowly passed his hand over Kimimaro's body and felt his current condition. The constant growth and recycling of bones, and the constant fighting, made Kimimaro's body quite bad. What did you see? Naruto also asked Tsunade. His body is weak, his vitality is insufficient, and at the same time, it seems that something is affecting his body. Tsunade said everything she could think of, and Naruto was thoughtful. It seems that we can only temporarily stabilize his injuries and try to prolong his life first. Naruto said to Tsunade. Tsunade nodded. As a doctor, she would naturally do her best. Chapter 138. After handing Kimimaro over to Zabuza, Orochimaru stopped caring about him and turned his attention to the plan for Konoha. Orochimaru still attaches great importance to this plan. It is also an experiment for the forbidden technique of impure world reincarnation. This ninjutsu was born in Konoha, so let Konoha see its power. In a slightly dark room, Orochimaru looked tired, but revealed a sense of excitement. Kabuto, is the Sound Village ready? Orochimaru said in a hoarse voice. I have already notified them, they are all very excited. Kabuto nodded and said, holding up the frame of his glasses with his fingers. Under the reflective lenses was a face that looked full of cunning. The Sound Village felt that most people were crazy fans of Orochimaru. It must be said that Orochimaru's charm was really high, and most people were willing to die for him. As Orochimaru's plan began, this group of people were very excited, and they firmly believed that under the leadership of Orochimaru, they would definitely win. Instruct them to do so, and make sure nothing goes wrong. Orochimaru emphasized again. There will be no mistakes. I have emphasized this again and again. Lord Orochimaru, please rest assured. Kabuto said respectfully. I'm naturally relieved when you do the work. Is there anything unusual in the Sand Village recently? Orochimaru naturally knows Kabuto's ability. No, it's the same as usual. There aren't many high-level talents in Sand Village. The current Sand Village is ruled by Luo Sha, so no one would suspect Luo Sha even if he went out frequently. On the contrary, because of the need to develop the Sand Village, Luo Sha often went out, and even his children didn't have many opportunities to meet Luo Sha. Therefore, the news of Luo Sha's death has been well kept secret. Ellipsis. Time flies. Time passed day by day, and soon the time of the Chunin exam was approaching. After a period of treatment, Kimamaro's blood disease was temporarily suppressed. But it was only a temporary solution, so we could only stabilize Kimamaro's vitality first, and then slowly treat him. At this moment in the Konoha office, the old face of the third Hokage showed a calm and peaceful expression. At this moment, he was like a neighbor. He took a deep puff of the smoke on his pipe and spit it out with a comfortable look. He should have retired at an age, but he was holding the power of Konoha tightly. He slowly looked at the group of Jonin in front of him and handed them the form for the Chunin exam. At the same time, Iruka was also standing in the Hokage's office, listening to the decision of the third Hokage and a group of Jonin. All his students participated in the Chunin exam. Compared with Iruka who opposed it in the original work, Iruka now obviously thinks that Naruto and Sasuke have the strength to participate in the Chunin exam. Even the strength of the two has reached the level of Chunin. However, Iruka still hesitated and said, "Hokage, I don't doubt the strength of Naruto and Sasuke, but the strength of other students seems to be a little bit worse. Should we wait a little longer?" "Teacher Iruka, when we were this age, we had already fought the enemy on the battlefield. Now that we have become ninjas, we must have this awareness. I believe in my students," Kakashi said in a firm voice. Although his subordinate Sakura's strength is still a little lacking, ninjas sometimes don't rely on their own single-handed fights. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke are a whole. The other people also have this attitude. This left Iruka speechless. He had to listen to their opinions. In fact, Iruka was just afraid that his students would be hurt. After all, the Chunin exam is not a joke. If you are not careful, you will die. Although you must have this awareness on the day you become a ninja, Iruka still hopes that they can live a peaceful life. After discussing things, everyone used the instant body technique to disappear. In Konoha village, Ino learned about the news of the Chunin exam and was a little surprised. She happened to see Sakura. "Sakura, here," Ino waved. Sakura looked up and saw Ino's happy expression. "Ino, what's wrong? I still need to go to the hospital," Sakura said hurriedly. She still needed to learn medical ninjutsu. "Are you in such a hurry? Oh, did you hear about it?" Ino seemed to remember something and said hurriedly. "What did you hear?" "The Chunin exam. You don't know about it yet?" Ino said in surprise. "What Chunin exam?" Sakura looked confused. Kakashi hadn't told Sakura yet. The three students under him were busier than the others. The Chunin competition jointly held by Sunagakur and Konoha has begun. It is said that ninjas from other villages will also come. Ino smiled and looked quite excited. "Really?" Sakura also showed a surprised look, but soon Sakura recovered and said, "It is indeed very interesting, but I have something else to do, let's talk another day." After that, Sakura hurried away to the hospital to practice medical ninjutsu. If she went too late, it might cause Miss Suzuko's displeasure, so she had to leave. Looking at Sakura who was leaving quickly, Ino touched her head and murmured, "When did Sakura become so hardworking? It feels like she has changed a lot." If Ino understood a word, she would understand that Sakura was beginning to roll inward. Although Sakura who left was very curious about what Ino said, the Chunin exam and the like seemed to have nothing to do with their group of newly graduated ninjas. Sakura didn't know yet that Kakashi had already signed up for their 7th team, not only Kakashi, but also the others. After Sakura arrived at the hospital, she began a busy and tense training life. During this time, she has become accustomed to the tight life and complex knowledge in the hospital. Miss Suzuko only teaches Sakura for half an hour a day, and the rest of the time is up to Sakura herself. Practice. Fortunately, Sakura is a top student. Facing such complicated and huge medical knowledge, she can barely absorb it easily. It was not until a little later that Kakashi appeared in front of Sakura. When Sakura learned the purpose of Kakashi's visit, she was a little surprised. Unexpectedly, what Ino said before happened to her. Are we also going to take part in the Chunin exam? Sakura was a little surprised and felt a little stressed. After all, the Chunin exam involves other ninja villages. She felt a little lack of confidence. Have you informed Sasuke-kun and Naruto-kun? Sakura asked doubtfully. You don't have to worry about them. I've already informed them. The Chunin exam will start tomorrow. Be prepared. Kakashi said, and after explaining some things to Sakura again, he disappeared. Some foreign ninjas can be seen in Konoha today. These are ninjas from small countries. Konoha and Sunagaku are going to hold a joint Chunin exam, so they naturally want to show their support, so they came early. Gaara also came to Konoha at this moment, with an excited look on his face. He can finally see Naruto again, and the corners of his mouth are slightly raised. Kankuro on the side widened his eyes. Gaara actually smiled. He must have seen it right. Chapter 139. Although Gaara has changed a lot, the fear that was engraved in Kanjiro's heart is hard to change. In addition to helping the citizens of the Wind Country, Gaara is a cold ninja. Even when facing Kanjiro and Temari, his feelings are a little weak. It's okay now. If it were in the past, Gaara's eyes could make Kanjiro feel scared. Several people came to the residence provided by Konoha and stayed there. In the early morning of the rising sun, Team 7 will meet again for the upcoming Chunin exam tomorrow. Walking to the street, Naruto thought that Gaara should have come. At this time, a voice came, "Stinky brat, don't you want to live?" Naruto looked into the distance and Kanjiro was holding Konohamaru. Naruto didn't have any bad feelings or good feelings for Konohamaru. He was just a spoiled brat. He is no longer the Naruto in the original work, so naturally he didn't have too much contact with Konohamaru. As the descendants of the Hokage, Konohamaru and him are treated very differently. Ebisu, who has a personal gold medal lecturer and a special jonin, is his teacher. One is a demon fox that everyone wants to kill. Don't say that the third Hokage is hiding his identity to prevent being found by the enemies of the fourth Hokage. In the ninja world, killing between ninjas is an extremely normal thing. Which ninja has not carried a few lives on his hands? During the war, weren't there enough enemies? Didn't the third Hokage kill a lot of people on the battlefield when he was young? Didn't he have many enemies? A person's reputation is earned through killing. But the descendants of the third Hokage are still living well, and he can only become a demon fox that everyone talks about, and the third Hokage has never come out to dispel the rumors, allowing public opinion to ferment. How did the rumors about his identity as a demon fox spread? Naruto probably has something to do with Danzo. But the third Hokage didn't stop it. He wanted to use a bond to bind him to the chariot of Konoha. It's a pity that he is no longer the original Naruto, and the third Hokage's idea is destined to be in vain. Pay attention, brother from the Sand Village, you have to know that you have the grandson of the third Hokage in your hands. Naruto approached and said softly to Kankuro. Naruto's handsome face made Temari's eyes light up slightly, and then Sasuke also came over. Could it be that all the handsome guys were reincarnated into Konoha? Temari thought to herself. She felt desperate when she thought of the boys in the Sand Village. Kankuro's movements froze for a moment, and he let go of the hand that was pinching Konohamaru's collar. He thought he was just an ordinary kid, but he turned out to be the grandson of the third Hokage. Seeing Kankuro let go of Konohamaru, Naruto couldn't help but laugh at himself. The grandson of a Hokage has such a high status that even ninjas from other villages dare not be presumptuous. You have to know that Kankuro is also the son of the Kazekage. Naruto is the son of the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze. He remembered what the third Hokage said in the original work, that he was afraid of exposing Naruto's identity as the son of the fourth Hokage, and that he was afraid of being assassinated by his enemies. Naruto thought about it and realized it was really a joke. It would be a joke if the descendant of a Hokage was assassinated in his own village. Words. Moreover, killing the descendants of the Kage of a village can easily lead to a war, and no one in power would be so stupid. What's more, if Naruto's identity is exposed, there were many ninjas who had received the favor of the fourth Hokage, and he was not called the little son for nothing. The fourth Hokage has a wide range of friends, and everyone who knows him likes him very much. It must be easy to take care of his descendants. But now, no one dares to contact Naruto. Even Kakashi, the disciple of the fourth Hokage, has never taken care of Naruto, causing Naruto to experience a miserable childhood. Of course, this is only the Naruto in the original work. In addition to this, there is Naruto's identity as the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. As a nuclear weapon-like existence, it is also one of the reasons why Naruto has fallen to this point. Big guy, just wait for me. Feeling the pain in his neck, Konohamaru, as the grandson of the third Hokage, naturally felt extremely embarrassed. He could only say something harsh and quickly ran away with Udon and Moegi. Kanjiro, don't bring shame to the village. Gaara's voice came from the tree, and Kanjiro shuddered. Naruto looked at Gaara on the tree, and they nodded to each other. Sasuke also noticed Gaara's existence, and he felt a strong sense of oppression from Gaara. Is this Gaara our new partner? As expected of Naruto, at this moment, Sasuke recognized Gaara. Naruto told Sasuke about Gaara, and naturally told Gaara about Sasuke. Gaara could also feel that Sasuke was not simple, and he also showed goodwill to Sasuke. I look forward to fighting with you. Gaara said. We are also looking forward to fighting with you. Naruto also replied, and then Gaara left with Temari and Kankuro. On the way, Kankuro whispered, Gaara, why don't you teach those guys a lesson? Gaara stopped and looked at Kankuro with an idiot look. My stupid brother, with their strength, even if there are two of you, you are not their opponent. The footsteps sounded again, and Gaara walked forward slowly. Temari spread her hands, with a helpless look on her face. Kankuro also showed an embarrassed look. Wait for me, Gaara. Kankuro hurriedly followed. Ellipsis. The next day, ninjas from various villages have gathered together. This is the first round of the Chunin exam, a written test. Naruto smiled and looked at Hinata, and two barely detectable blushes appeared on Hinata's face. Soon, the examiner announced the start of the test. Naruto knew that this was a test of the ninja's intelligence-gathering ability. Because some of these exams have questions beyond the syllabus, it is difficult for non-students to answer them, so several Chunins have been arranged to take part in this exam. If it were the original Naruto, he might be in a hurry and couldn't answer a single question. Then the current Naruto looked at the questions in front of him with a disdainful look. That's it. Looking at the people who showed their skills and some people who were constantly eliminated, Naruto quickly started to answer the test paper. He Naruto. A real stud. Not only that, Sakura also answered the test paper by herself. And Sasuke, because of Naruto, Sasuke's current knowledge reserves are far beyond the original, so naturally he doesn't need to rely on cheating to pass the exam. Sasuke's face flashed with confidence. And the sound of swishing. Chapter 140. As time went by, the ninjas who took the exam were no fools. They all discovered the purpose of this exam. As a ninja, it was to test a person's ability to collect intelligence. And the methods of their genin could not be hidden from the Chunin examiners. As long as their methods were not particularly bad, they could basically pass the exam. And those ninjas whose cheating methods were too obvious, I'm sorry, you have to be eliminated. Especially those guys who used notes to convey information, this method was simply the lowest level in the eyes of the invigilator. You are eliminated, get out. The examiner's stern voice sounded, which also put pressure on the genin who took the exam. Naruto looked at the situation around him easily, without the slightest bit of nervousness, which made the examiner look at him with a higher opinion. Soon, the time was up, and all the unqualified people were cleared out. Then, the voice of Morino Ibiki sounded, His face was covered with scars, which made people feel terrified. Morino Ibiki, the head of Konoha's torture department, it was difficult for a ninja to survive his torture. Very good, everyone has finished the previous exams, so next, I will officially announce the 10th question. Mori Nobiki's eyes swept across the people present, making people feel full of oppression, and these candidates couldn't help but lower their heads. However, there is a limitation to this question. If you choose to take the 10th question, then if you fail, you will never be able to take the Chunin exam, and the same goes for your companions. If you choose to quit, you can still take part in the Chunin exam next year. Okay, start choosing. Morino Ibiki's cold voice shocked the candidates present at once. Not being able to take the Chunin exam for life is a devastating blow to some ninjas from small countries. Because the title of a ninja sometimes represents status. Next, Naruto and the other two were naturally relaxed. Although Sakura was a little worried about dragging down Naruto and Sasuke, she thought of Naruto and Sasuke's outstanding performance, as well as her own efforts during this period. She quickly calmed down, and Ino and the others did not quit. She also sat firmly on the stool. A depressing atmosphere began to spread in the classroom. Without Naruto's words in the original work, some unsteady people began to choose to give up. The number of eliminations this time is far more than in the original work. Those who should leave have left, and those who don't want to leave naturally sit firmly. Some people seem very confident, thinking that there is no reason for them to fail the Chunin exam. Very good, since you have all chosen to stay, you must be capable. Once again, I say it again, don't joke with your future. If you choose to give up now, there is still a chance. Morino Ibiki cracked his mouth and laughed. This smile was very creepy. Sure enough, after Morino Ibiki said this, some people with weak minds were shaken again, and a few more people were excluded. Naruto shook his head. Morino Ibiki was obviously very good at grasping people's psychology. This question tested the firmness when facing the task, which was the quality of a qualified ninja. No one should have left, so I will start to announce the 10th question. The content of the 10th question is, you all passed this exam. Morino Ibiki announced loudly, which instantly stunned most of the people present. They could not expect such a result. Listening to Morino Ibiki's words, Shikamaru hung his head with a look of, I expected it a long time ago. Bang! The sound of broken glass rang out, and a black shadow broke through the window. A slim figure, wearing a fishing net outfit, appeared in front of everyone. Naruto looked at the woman. She looked good, but she looked a little tiger-like. Did she think she was handsome like this? Then, the next scene was almost the same as the original. Mitarashi Anko took everyone to the number 44 training ground, which is the Death Forest. The Death Forest was separated by wire to prevent the wild beasts in the forest from coming out. The scene was exactly the same as the original, and Orochimaru still dressed up as the grass ninja. What made Naruto a little concerned was that the girl among the grass ninja, Uzumaki Kaori Phosphorus. This girl has good talent and possesses the immortal body of the Uzumaki clan. She could be saved and trained. It is a waste in the hands of the Kusanagi. Karen inherited her mother's ability and was treated like livestock by the Kusanagi, directly as a first aid kit. Karen has the same physique as her mother and can recover from injuries with just one bite. In fact, this damages her own vitality. The Uzumaki clan is a long-lived clan that can extract huge chakras. Karen's performance is a manifestation of strong vitality in the world. If she is trained as a medical ninja, I don't know how many people can be saved. The Kusanagi's approach is simply killing the chicken to get the eggs. And the Kusanagi is a fence-sitter in the ninja world. Naruto really doesn't have a good impression of such a village. They entered the Death Forest one after another. The Death Forest is very large. It is said that it was created by the first generation of Hokage using wood release. It is fascinating. Ellipsis. In the Death Forest, Naruto and Sasuke warned him that Orochimaru was targeting him and he must be careful. Orochimaru probably couldn't imagine Sasuke's current strength. Limited by his age, although Sasuke is only at the level of an elite Jonin now, he is far beyond the average ninja, and he also has a trump card. In the past few years, Sasuke has practiced almost desperately, and with Naruto's guidance, Sasuke has almost no detours, which has also made his strength improve rapidly. For someone like Sakura, it is estimated that he doesn't even have 1/10 of the time that Sasuke spends practicing. The children here, such as Lee and Neji, are almost ceiling level, with strong strength. They quickly gather the scrolls, and Gaara's strength is equally terrifying. At this moment, the Death Forest is full of murderous intent. Naruto easily solved a group of little Kurami who came to cause trouble, and when he got the scroll, he found that it was the same as their scroll. They are all scrolls of earth. Under a big tree, Naruto closed his eyes and began to maximize the activation of Kagura's heart eye. Before coming in, she silently memorized the chakra fluctuations of Uzumaki Karen. Naruto's current Kagura mind eye was even more amazing than he had imagined. He easily covered the Death Forest, then Naruto narrowed the range and sensed it carefully. Naruto opened his eyes and said to Sasuke, "Let's go, this way." Naruto already knew the location of Karen. Ellipsis. On Uzumaki Karen's side, several grass ninjas were cursing and looking at Karen with bad eyes. After a day, they were tired and hungry. They immediately looked at Karen. They didn't mean to regard Karen as a companion, but only as a medical kit that could be restored at any time. "Come here quickly, we took you in, so you have to be obedient." The two grass ninjas bit Karen's arm directly, and her chakra was instantly restored, and even her fatigue was restored a lot, which made the two of them feel satisfied.